Hey everybody, it's Captain Nabs with you once again. Welcome back to the Twitch stream. Welcome back to VATSIM ATC. I think I've sorted out my issues now. Well, I'm pretty sure I have.
JetBlue 1695 radio check.
JetBlue 1695, Toronto, I read you 5.
Copy.
As you can now hear, I have sorted out my audio issues, so the issues that I was having seemed, I found a way to bypass them. It appeared that for whatever reason, audio for VATSIM's voice codec was getting blocked. I don't know if it was not able to maintain a connection or if it was just being blocked or only certain things were being blocked, but I was unable to maintain a connection with AFE. And so every time someone tried to call me, I couldn't hear anything. Trying to do center on text only was just not going to be viable with even more than about 5 or 6 people on. Even 5 or 6 people would be too much. So I did come up with one genius idea. I did have a momentary genius idea, and I forgot to even put myself back up there. And I had a momentary epiphany after I gave up. I kind of threw in the towel and walked away and was kind of ticked off. And then just a minute or two later, I suddenly came up with the idea of what if I was to find a way to get around, or what if I was to find a way to channel my data out through the network. So I connected my VPN. So hopefully there's not too much of a lag to this. I imagine there's going to be a little tiny bit of a lag, but the VPN. Pardon me, the VPN connection is pretty close. It's in the same city, so it should be pretty quick. It shouldn't cause too much lag, and I'm hoping that seems to have bypassed the AFE block.
Requesting IFR to Atlanta with information Bravo.
JetBlue 1695 Toronto Tower, good evening. You're cleared to the Atlanta airport via the Beats 3 departure, Foxy transition, flight planned route, depart runway 23, squawk code 6307.
$6007 confirm.
Affirm 6307, JetBlue 1695.
JetBlue 1695, please to the Atlanta airport via the BT3 Foxy transition. Expected departure will be runway 22, squawk 6307.
JetBlue 1695 Toronto, thank you very much. That readback is correct. The Toronto information is Bravo. Give me a call when you're ready for push and start.
Copy 1, local.
Yeah, so as you can hear, it's working now. So
Toronto Tower, WestJet 112, requesting clearance IFR to Chicago O'Hare.
WestJet 112, Toronto Tower, good afternoon. You're cleared to the Chicago O'Hare Airport via the GoPup 4 departure, hockey transition, flight planned route, depart runway 23, squawk code 5535.
Cleared to Chicago O'Hare via the GoPup transition hockey, runway 23, transponder 5535, WestJet 112.
WestJet 112, that readback is correct. The information in Toronto is Bravo. Give me a call when you're ready for push and start.
Will do.
All right, I got a PDC request as well here for Canada 854. I haven't actually looked at his flight plan, so let's just have a quick look here. Let's see here. That looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and assign him a squawk code Ferdo 7 Iptos 350. That looks good, so I can do, you see, and then identifier is 622 Lima. Let's make sure we're on his private chat channel because it should only go through the private chat system. All right, so I sent him. Who's Air Canada 6? Who is Air Canada 1646? Why is he pushing onto my ramp without talking to me? I have control of the ramp. He doesn't even have a flight plan. Okay. Anywho, I'm looking through these flight plans here. 23. It is the Captain.
Toronto Tower, good day, Air Canada 854 Heavy. We have PDC identifier 622 Leo now.
Air Canada 854 Heavy, thank you. Your readback is correct. Information Toronto's Bravo. Give me a call ready for the push.
We'll call you for push, Air Canada 854.
Air Canada 1646, apologies. Yeah, I didn't see on another time. I pushed. Yeah, I'd like to request clearance to runway 15 left.
And Air Canada 1646 Toronto, information Bravo. I got a clearance to Miami if you're ready to copy the whole thing.
Yeah, sure, that'd be great, Faisal.
Air Canada 1646, you're cleared to Miami via the Beats 3 departure, ERA transition, flight plan route. Departure runway is 23, squawk code 5531.
Departure via Beach 3, I have a transition, runway 23 and squawk 5531, Air Canada 1646.
Air Canada 1646, thanks. The readback is correct. Information Bravo is current. Let me know when you're ready for taxi.
We'll get it, Air Canada 1646. Although I am currently on the taxi, I just have to copy a couple of things down.
Yeah, not a problem. You're fine where you are. Just let me know when you're ready for taxi.
Okay.
Canada Tower, WestJet 112 is ready to push back.
WestJet 112 Tower, thanks. Push back with tail north and call ready for taxi.
Pushing back north, WestJet 112.
All right, still looks like I'm just checking out the real world. They are still landing 24 left, departing 23 by the looks of it, so we'll stick with the plan there. Air Canada 423. And he just sent me a text message, so let's just see if he is looking for a clearance. Daiki 5 Miglo for the HAB 7. Let's see. Can I grab a PDC, please? Uh, 716.
Canada 1646, yep, everything's sorted. I'm ready to taxi runway 23.
Air Canada 1646 Toronto, thanks. Information is Bravo, altimeter 3010, runway 23. Taxi out Alpha Juliet, Alpha, and Hotel. Hold short 23.
Yep, altimeter 3010, taxi via Juliet, Alpha, and Hotel for runway 23, Air Canada 1646.
All right. I hope that volume balance is good. I think it is. I keep kind of trying to look up at it, but like when people are talking, I'm trying to focus on what they're saying. I'm not trying to. I look at the stats of my stream when I'm not actually working, as it were. So it's kind of funny trying to remember to look at it when somebody's actually talking, because usually when they're talking, I'm listening, of course. All right. It's a little bit chilly in here. I might have to just. Okay, so. He is on the taxi. WestJet 112 is on the push. And yeah, just a little bit chilly in here. So I'm just going to put my headset down for a second and go turn the thermostat just up a tiny bit. And it literally took that time. I have a sweater on and I'm feeling chilly, so I think that's a sign that it probably is a little bit too chilly in this room. All right, so he's and okay, and WestJet 112. If you haven't started the push, just hold the push for a second.
Hold and push.
WestJet 112, thanks. WestJet 112, you're going to see a 777 pass behind you right to left. You can give way to them, and if it's not too late, you can change the push to be tail south. It'll make the taxi slightly shorter. WestJet 112 Tower, did you copy?
You want tail to the north or tail to the south?
Oh, that's way over. WestJet 112, it's completely your option at this point. Just give way to that 777 pass behind you now.
Will do.
Okay, he is way too loud, so I gotta have to see. And that's the other thing too, is I have to find a balance for the pilots between the ones who are really quiet and trying to crank the volume up so you can hear them, and the ones who are so loud that they're overmodulating. So I'm trying to find that balance. All right, any arrivals right now? I don't see any arrivals inbound. No, nothing inbound right now, and I don't think there's anything on vPilot for a little bit. But we got Center, we got Tower, we got a terminal controller as well. You got a satellite controller actually. So yeah, that'll. There are 9 Atlanta centers, he says in my ear. Wow. Atlanta looks like they're having some kind of an event. Looks like they're hosting Delta. Delta came in from BWI by the looks of it. Not just BWI, but it looks like there's a whole string of arrivals in Atlanta from the Northeast. And there's 30 departures on the ground. What? Where are these guys all going? What is going on in Atlanta today? Some kind of an event, I guess. Atlanta details. No, there's a lot of different arrivals from a lot of different places. Not
Air
particularly.
Canada 9 Heavy Toronto Tower, we're ready to push.
Air Canada 9 Heavy Toronto, thanks. Push back with tail to the east. Call ready for taxi.
Push tail facing east, call ready for taxi. Air Canada 9 Heavy.
Local Tower with FedEx 8840 Heavy. I'm ready to copy my approximations to Memphis.
And FedEx, I believe you said 1840. I don't see a FedEx 1840 in my list. Let me just double check the bigger list.
Oh, just a minute, I'll check that, yeah.
And FedEx 8840, I do actually see your flight plan here. For some reason, it's not showing up in my departure list. Just give me 1 second and let me have a look at it. And FedEx 8840, I've got you here now. Advise ready to copy the clearance.
That's not the message, I'm ready to copy.
FedEx 8840, you're cleared to Memphis via the Mixit 7 departure, Gentry transition, flight plan route. Departure runway is 23, squawk 6304.
Clear to Memphis, runway 23, Mixit 7, Gentry transition. And the squawk is 6304, FedEx 8840.
FedEx 8840, thanks. That readback is correct. Information in Toronto is Bravo. Give me a call when you're ready for pushback, please.
Pleasure, pushback, FedEx 8840.
I really got to just, it's crazy how much I have to adjust the volume between high and low to cover both ends of the spectrum here.
Toronto Tower WestJet 112 is ready for taxi.
WestJet 112 Toronto, runway 23, the information is Bravo, altimeter 3010, taxi Alpha Tango, Alpha Hotel.
Taxiing to runway 23, information Bravo, altimeter 3010, taxiing via Alpha Tango, Alpha Hotel.
Air Canada 1646, your departure frequency will be 125.77.
JetBlue 1695, ready for mission start.
Air Canada 1646, winds 170 at 3, you're clear for takeoff, runway 23.
Clear for takeoff, runway 23, Air Canada 1646.
And JetBlue 1695, you called ready for the push?
Yep, ready for the push.
JetBlue 1695, thanks. Push back onto lane 5, tail to the east, call ready for taxi.
To the east. JetBlue 1695.
Doesn't take very long to get a bunch of people in Toronto, though. And you got some traffic, you got some ATC, and I'm kind of just enjoying the
Toronto
low scale
Tower,
today.
Canada 423 with information Bravo at gate 120 and PDC identifier 716 Lima is ready for push.
Air Canada 423, thank you very much. Your readback is correct. The information in Toronto is Bravo. And, sorry, say again which gate you're at?
120.
Air Canada 423, thanks. Push back onto lane 6, tail to the east, call ready for taxi.
Lane 6, tail to the east, will call for taxi. Air Canada 423.
Sometimes it's nice to have a small sector and just be able to focus, do a really good job on one specific area. All right, here's another one. Air Canada 894. No, I did that. Yeah, I did. Looked over his flight plan. So everybody's got a squawk code. I've looked at their flight plan at least once. So Air Canada 1646. Contact center now 125.77. Good evening.
125.77. Thank you for your service and good evening.
Good evening.
Air Canada 984, requesting Alpha clearance to Bentley Adams Spa. We have information Bravo on board.
Air Canada 1694. Good day. You're cleared to Grantley Adams via the KEPTA 3 departure, Bumpa transition, and flight plan route. Departure runway is 23, squawk 6114. And there's the turn after
Clear
departure.
to Bentley Adams via the September 3 departure, Bumpa transition, and squawk is 6114 for Air Canada 984.
Air Canada 94. Thanks. The readback is correct. Information Bravo. Give me a call. Ready for pushback.
We'll give you a call and ready for pushing back, Air Canada 984.
WestJet 112. Line up runway 23. Short delay for wake turbulence separation.
Line up and wait, runway 23, WestJet 112.
Should have started a timer. I should have a timer. Let's do it. Use my phone as a timing device, right? Where are my timers here? Well, I can't do it this time, but for the next time I have a heavy departure. WestJet 112. Caution possible wake turbulence from the departed heavy 777 about 2 minutes ago. The wind 080 at 2. Clear for takeoff, runway 23.
WestJet 112, clear for takeoff, runway 23.
We got a good slew of departures now. I certainly hope that it'll get a little more interesting.
Toronto Tower,
I see
Air
an arrival
Canada
there.
9 Heavy, ready to taxi.
Air Canada 9 Heavy, Toronto Tower. Thanks. The information is Bravo, altimeter 3010, runway 23. Taxi head on the apron, out Alpha Lima, Alpha, hold short Alpha Kilo.
Taxi head on the apron, Alpha Kilo, Alpha, Hotel, Air Canada 9 Heavy.
And Air Canada 9 Heavy negative, go out Alpha Lima, Alpha, and just hold short Alpha Kilo for now.
Yeah, I was a little confused there. Thank you for the clarification. Taxi out, Alpha Lima, hold, taxi Alpha, hold short Alpha Kilo, Air Canada 9 Heavy.
Thank you.
WestJet 112, airborne 1000.
WestJet 112, thanks. Contact Toronto Center now, 125.77. Good day.
Over to Toronto Center, WestJet 112, thank you, you too.
All right, we're losing all the departures here. Gotta get some more guys logged in. Come on, people, log in, log in, log in. It's interesting now. It's going to get boring if nobody logs in. I got one arrival there, at least I can see. I imagine it will not be the last one. It's nice. It's a little bit fun though. Just doing like the focused task, the tower. I kind of like managing the whole thing, especially when it's not too busy. It's nice, but like that's also realistic to a degree. It is very realistic, not so much during the daytime, more so at night, but it's very realistic for one person, even at Pearson, to handle tower, ground clearance, everything local, all the local positions. It's very reasonable for that to happen in the night hours, which is, you're going to see a traffic level of about this. And actually, it's surprising and sometimes almost shocking how much traffic you see late at night. Like it's almost too much for one person to really deal with. And it's not. The thing is, it's not just the airplanes, and that's one thing like VATSIM kind of you're just dealing with aircraft. But in the case of the real-world ground controllers, you're not just dealing with aircraft. You're also dealing with any number of vehicles moving around the field. So you may have service vehicles. You'll have certainly tugs towing aircraft from gate to gate, or from the hangar to the gate, or back to a hard stand, or who knows, all around the field. You'll have, potentially emergency vehicles trying to go out on the field. You'll have electrical and maintenance vehicles out there on the field, especially if there's snow removal going on. Then it becomes incredibly hectic. It can be way too much for one person to handle. I remember one night I was there, and there was so much going on. This one guy couldn't. He was doing his best, and he was doing a darn fine job, but it really is too much. And then you get during the day, and even during the day, you get sometimes these cases where you've got two people, you got one person doing two jobs. You'll often have a guy doing delivery and ground, and it's like there's too much work for one person. These controllers are overworked and need to be supplemented. Air Canada 9, continue taxi, Alpha, and Hotel.
Continue taxi Alpha, then and Hotel. Air Canada 9 Heavy.
Yeah, so there's a what am I trying to say here? Yeah, it's not unheard of, certainly for people.
FedEx 8840, I'm ready for push stop.
FedEx 8840 Toronto, thank you. You can push back with tail to the west. Call me ready for taxi.
Tail west, I got the FedEx 8840.
I'm just actually going to pull up my NOTAMs here, if I can find them. There they are. Runway 0523 will close tonight at midnight Toronto time, so that's quite a ways from now. 24 right is closed on Monday, I believe that is. Alpha and Taxiway Alpha. Oh, shoot. No, that's tomorrow. Okay, that's okay. Alpha between Alpha Kilo and Alpha Lima not available to aircraft with wingspan greater than 118 feet. Okay, good to know. So that's good to see. What else we got here? 24 right, Pappy's out of service. 15. North of Taxiway Hotel. Fox 4, Fox 2.
Toronto Tower, Canada 423 is ready to taxi runway 23.
Air Canada 423, runway 23, information is Bravo, altimeter 3010, taxi down lane 6, Alpha Kilo, Alpha and Hotel.
Alpha Kilo, Alpha Hotel, Canada 423.
Fox 4, Fox 2, Fox 1, Fox 3. Taxiway, okay, so these are all closed because, yeah, 15 right, 33 left is closed south of Hotel, which means you're never going to see a 1533 operation unless they absolutely, there's just no choice, because it'd be a single runway operation. It'd be terrible. Taxiway, center line, low, Pappy's 6 left, infield, okay, there's really nothing even going on in the construction-wise other than just the closure of 15 left, 15 right, 33 left, south of Hotel. CDF, taxi lane 1 between CDF pad 1 and 3. Taxiway Victor Papa. Oh, this is effective. Okay, this is effective now. Victor
Tower, Sunwing, 7431, ILS 24 left approach.
Sunwing 7431, Toronto Tower, good afternoon. You're number 1, the wind's 140 at 10, clear to land, runway 24 left.
Clear to land, 24 left, Sunwing 7431.
Victor between Echo and Foxtrot. Oh, shoot. Where'd my NOTAMs go? Then it scrolled all the way back up to the front of the list. Okay, so hold on. Let's see here. So where was it here? It was, yeah, so if I go back to this list here, so this is Victor Papa right here. Victor between Echo, taxi lane 1 between pads 1 and 3, taxiway Foxtrot, taxiway Victor between Echo and Foxtrot, Victor between Echo and Foxtrot, taxiway Foxtrot, and taxiway Foxtrot between Delta and Tango closed. So this whole thing is closed in here as well. Trigger NOTAM. Okay, that's it. That's all that's really affecting the operation here today. All right. Now we're going to need a wake turbulence separation timer here. Make sure that I'm ready to go here. All right, north field winds, south field winds. Northfield winds are calm. Southfield winds are actually doing something interesting. All right, now it's information. Charlie. Altocumulus Trace and Haze. What's the visibility here in Toronto? It's 15 miles. Any other arrivals? Nope. Sunwing's just at the 2 mile mark there. FedEx is pushing. I think I forgot to mark that. JetBlue pushed. I got 2 more here on the ramp. Sunwing 1741 is landing. Where did he come from? And I'm sorry, who is ready for taxi?
8840.
FedEx 8840, okay, thank you. Runway 23, information Charlie, altimeter 3010. Taxi out Juliet Echo and Juliet, cross runway 15 right and 15 left.
Juliet Echo, Juliet cross at 15 right and 15 left. And 3010, FedEx 8840.
Just trying to find an orientation where I can see most of this on the screen here. Gonna roll it all the way to the end in the 37. Sunwing 7431, welcome to Toronto. You can take Delta 6 there, cross the threshold of 06 left onto Delta, and where are you parking?
Alright, exit Delta 7, and then, was it, cross 24, or 06 left at, Delta 7?
Sunwing 7431, you got it. When able, just let me know which gate you're going to.
We don't have a gate, we'll take any gate, Sunwing, 7431.
Sunwing 7431, okay. Looks like, I believe you came from Jamaica there, so we'll give you an international gate here. Let's call it Charlie 26. So taxi Delta Alpha, hold short Alpha Kilo, cross runway 33 right.
Alright, cross 33 right, Delta, Charlie, Alpha, hold short Alpha Kilo, Sunwing 7431.
All right, so I got 2 more aircraft that have clearance and haven't pushed. FedEx is on the taxi, and so I'm very bad about updating these tags. Very bad about it. I gotta work on that. All right, so we'll keep an eye on that. But because the other nice thing too, like I can do the progressive taxi, I can do the proper hold points for control transfers as necessary because I can focus. I can really scan. When you're trying to do center, you very quickly lose track of what's going on the ground in Toronto because you're spending most of your time kind of looking at what's happening airborne. Things happen at a slower pace on the ground, so you don't tend to kind of include it in your scan as much. But if you're trying to do these realistic operations, you kind of need to have that realistic scan going. All right, this guy's trucking along on Juliet. This guy's slowing down to make the turn onto Hotel. It's going to be a short delay here for wake turbulence separation. See, and this is something I wondered. I don't think it really specifies in the man-offs, but when you have a 2-minute timer for wake turbulence separation, you start it from the time the guy starts rolling, or do you time it from the time the guy lifts off and you don't clear the next guy for 2 minutes? I'm not even sure really which of those to do. Wow, that JetBlue did a long push. He's just going to push himself all the way to the runway. Air Canada 9 Heavy Toronto. The wind's 180 at 4, clear for takeoff, runway 23.
Clear for takeoff, runway 23, Air Canada 9 Heavy.
Air Canada 423, space permitting behind the departing company triple. Line up runway 23, caution possible jet blast. It'll be a short delay for wake turbulence separation.
Line up and wait, runway 23, Air Canada 423.
I think I have at least one more plane. No. One of these is 854. This is 984. I have at least one plane that's logged in that's not doing anything right now. Nobody on approach yet. Some guys playing over in Brampton there. Watching the Sunwing here. I'm watching to see where the JetBlue ends up because this is the longest and weirdest push I've ever seen. From all the way back here, I got the long push. It's not the weirdest push I've ever seen. It's one of the weirdest pushes I've ever seen on the network. You don't normally get long pushes on the network. Sometimes you will in real life. They'll ask you to push a long way so they can get a second or a third push going in front of you, because the disconnect takes time.
JetBlue 1639, no, 35. Request taxi 223.
Air Canada 9er, contact Toronto Centre 125.77.
Over Toronto Center 125.77. Air Canada 9 Heavy. See ya!
JetBlue 1695, Toronto, runway 23, the information Charlie, altimeter 3010. Taxi north on the apron, exit at Alpha Juliet, then Alpha and Hotel.
Repeat taxi instructions, JetBlue.
JetBlue 1695, Toronto, runway 23, information Charlie and altimeter 3010. Taxi north on the apron, exit at Alpha Juliet, then taxi Alpha and Hotel.
Copy, taxi north of the apron, Alpha, then Hotel, JetBlue 1695.
Close enough for now. It's a good thing I have the Sunwing holding short, and I didn't realize he transitioned onto Charlie, but that's fine. All right, I've got the timer going here. It's kind of nice to have. It's here on my phone. It's going. 39 seconds, then I'll clear him for takeoff. I did it from the time I thought the triple rotated. It's not like it's so busy that I need to worry about the extra 10 or 15 seconds one way or the other. Seems like an eternity when you're sitting at the threshold of the runway, though. All right, so we'll see what the JetBlue does here. I'm kind of not confident in him to start taxiing quickly. But I want to get Sunwing around him. I don't want to make Sunwing wait a long time. I'll start my phrase here when I got 5 seconds to go. Air Canada 423, caution possible wake turbulence from the departed heavy triple 2 minutes ago. The winds are 170 at 5. Clear for takeoff, runway 23.
Caution the wake, clear for takeoff, Air Canada 423.
FedEx 8840 Toronto, line up runway 23 behind the departing 320. And FedEx 8840, line up runway 23 behind the departing traffic.
Line up runway 23.
What is JetBlue doing here? He's dancing sideways. I'm not sure what he's doing. I got Sunwing coming up here, and he's going to want to turn into the apron, but I gave JetBlue a taxi route now that kind of takes him all the way through there. Still no arrivals. Air Canada 423 over to Toronto Centre, 125.77. G'day.
Over to Center, Air Canada 423. Thanks.
Take care. FedEx 8840. Toronto winds 160 at 7. Clear for takeoff, runway 23. All right, since JetBlue has not started taxiing yet, I think I'm going to just bypass the Sunwing around him, unless I see him start to move here momentarily.
JetBlue 1695, we may have, something broken in our aircraft. Maybe we start.
All right, JetBlue 1695, yeah, just hold your position. Let me know if you're ready for taxi again.
Copy.
Sunwing 7431, continue taxi Alpha, Alpha Juliet, lane 4 to Charlie 26.
Alright, I'll continue taxiing Alpha Juliet and then taxi lane 6 till Charlie 24, or 26, Sunwing 7431.
FedEx 8840, contact center 125.77. Good day. All right, so I got 3 departures here. It is nice to have that focus, though. As much as it may not be the most stimulating live stream ever, in all honesty. But sometimes just to focus on one sector, on one task, one job, but being able to do it extremely well without forgetting people, without having people waiting for you, that could be quite rewarding in and of itself sometimes. So I think we got at least 1 or 2 more. We got at least one guy, I think, without a flight plan here so far. No arrivals imminent, unfortunately. Toronto only just kind of opened up, so it's going to take a little while before they wave arrivals. But yeah, I was here. What night was I here? So that was Thursday night. I was here for the Toronto Thursday on Thursday night, and my God, I should have live streamed that. That was a disaster and a half, though. Oh, I see another departure just spawned. Yeah, that was a disaster and a half in a good way. It was so smoking busy. I ended up working center. I didn't even realize it was the event when I first logged on, and then the traffic volume just snowballed. I had 40 or 50 airplanes over the course of about 2.5 hours, and it was all I could do to keep up with them. And the fun part was that it was the variety that was great. It wasn't just all Toronto arrivals. There was a large number of Toronto arrivals, including a couple people that were not listening to me. But at the same time, it was such a what am I trying to say here? It was such a there was other stuff that was going on that was really kind of interesting. So there was a number of departures from the satellite airports. There was people doing approach to satellite airports. It was actually getting quite hectic, and I had a satellite controller come on that actually really helped take the workload off because the when you're dealing with the Toronto Rivals, the one thing, of course, about it is that you don't need to think a lot about it because it's so habitual. You know the approaches, you know the vectors points, you know everything kind of about vectoring people towards Toronto because you do it a lot. You do 75-80% of your job at center is if you're in Toronto is vectoring people into or out of Toronto. But when you start dealing with the satellite airports, that there's not nearly the level of familiarity. You've got your Kitchener, your city center, even Trenton, North Bay, Sudbury. You've got all these different airports, some controlled, some uncontrolled. But you don't have the same familiarity with those approaches and the arrivals and the routings as you do with as you do with Toronto itself. So I can probably almost 50% of my attention was focused on these guys who are going into the satellite airports when they represented like 15% of the traffic, just because of the amount of extra workload I have to look up the approaches and understand what they want and kind of work. I know the patterns for Toronto very well. I know the arrivals, I know the departures, I know the routings in and out of Toronto very well. But all the other ones, because you see so little relative traffic on it, you're not nearly as familiar with it. You have to end up looking at the chart almost every time. Now, in the real world, of course, they would be very familiar, but in the real world, you don't have one person working all of Toronto Centre. You have, these guys, their full-time job is to learn one particular part of it and work that one particular part of it. So they will know all the approaches into Kitchener and London and Hamilton, and that'll be it. That'll be all they know. They don't even know Pearson because they don't handle Pearson. All right, so we got a couple more people logged in here. At least 2 people logged in without a filed flight plan. I see Air Canada 894. I have an Air Canada 854. And the JetBlue is back there on Terminal 3 again. I'm pretty sure that's JetBlue again. These guys just need to get their flight plans filed and get out of here. Skedaddle.
JetBlue 1695, ready to check.
JetBlue 1695, I read you 5.
JetBlue 1695, do we just push back to the same position?
And JetBlue 1695, yeah, your push is approved. Make sure you got the squawk in there again of 6307.
Copy, 6307.
There he is. Good. Perfect. Thank you. I have transponder readout on him. So I got at least 3 other departures now logged in. No flight plans filed yet, but hopefully they'll start coming soon.
And Air Canada 984, ready for push on start.
Air Canada 984 Toronto, push back, tail to the east, and call ready for taxi.
Tail to the east, we'll call for taxi, Air Canada 984.
So many triples, so much wake turbulence separation, and there's the interesting thing too, is that wake turbulence is about to become an issue. In FS 2024, they've talked about this now that wake turbulence will persist after an aircraft departs for a realistic amount of time. So they talked about this in their in their presentation at the FS Expo, but yeah, they said they've seen it last as long as 6 minutes after a departure, but there will be wake turbulence after a departure. So right now we do this on VATSIM. It's a formality. We do it because we're supposed to, because that's the procedure. But it's actually going to mean something now going forward with FS 2024. There's some interesting changes coming in FS 2024. I tell you, I wasn't excited for it at first. I really wasn't. I really was like, 2020 is good. It does what I want it to do. 2020 kind of broke the mold again. Like FSX and P3D kind of was an extension of FSX. It pushed the boundaries of FSX and definitely improved upon it, but it was still very much the same basic sim, the same basic scenery patterns underneath and everything like that, the same basic level of scenery. And then FS 2020 just completely broke that mold, and certainly in terms of the look of the basic default sim with the satellite. The satellite world scenery, the AI generated scenery, and the weather as well. It looks really good. The flight models still are rudimentary when you compare them to something like X-Plane, but they're definitely not bad. I think I've said this before, but I don't see 2024 as being a break the mold event again. I think it's going to be more like, it'll be like a super add-on pack almost in a way. It'll be a standalone piece of software. But actually, there's a part of me that almost hopes that it's not. I mean, I can't afford a dual installation of FS 2020 and 2024. So everything that I enjoy flying had better work in 2024 before I even think about buying it and installing it, because the space that's taken up by my installation of 2020 is just it's mind blowing. Certainly quickly becoming one of the biggest software packages you can buy in one piece, and with all the add-ons, and you can double the size. Like I think the base installation, if you started adding on like all of the included DLC, all of the world updates, the city updates, all that stuff, your basic sim package is probably pushing 150 to 200 gigabytes at this point, just with all the world updates, city updates, as well as the base sim. So I definitely couldn't afford a dual installation. I have a feeling that that's going to probably be a consideration. I feel like, at least I certainly hope so. Like, Asobo knows that FS 2020 is not dying. It's not going to die immediately. Like, and they've said it. They've said that they're going to support FS 2024 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They don't know how long. They promised when they originally released it 10 years of support, and everything that they still say that they're going to honor that commitment at this point, that it's going to be supported for at least 10 years. Go ahead. Yep. Have at her if you want to do it. Whatever. Yeah, so 2020, they're going to support it for the long term anyways, but you have to figure that they assume that a good portion of the people that they're going to end up selling 2024 to are going to be 2020 users. So how are you going to deal with them in terms of a dual installation? Are you going to support having a dual installation of two SIMs at the same time, maybe referencing similar data, maybe referencing the same data packages? I realize they're not the same SIM, but maybe we can reference some of the same data packages, because a lot of that, 100 something gigs is is data, is world data, is city data, is terrain data, that kind of stuff. So could we reference those same things again? I use the MSFS add-on linker, and I certainly think that could become a very useful tool, in that you can then use that to link your add-ons to both 2020 and 2024 from one common folder. So you can have the one common folder where all of your add-ons are, and then you can run it twice. You can run the MSFS add-on linker twice, and you can have links in the 2020 content directory and links in the 2024 content directory that they both point back to the same content. So I'm sure that externally we'll be able to do that for the most part. Some of the aircraft are more complex and may not allow that to happen. But I wonder how they're going to address dual SIM installations, if they're going to kind of work in a way that the dual SIM installations will not require full dual installs of, like, here's 200 gigs each, because I don't think I have the hard drive space. Well, I know I don't have the hard drive space to install two of them. Certainly not both on an SSD at this point in time, which is how I would like to have my SIM. There's another departure. They're popping on here now. We're popping on. It's good. It's good. No arrivals, but we're popping on some departures here. There we go. I got somebody new here. I can't afford 58. Let's look at his flight plan. It's pretty simple. Verto, L sub 7, capital 5, capital 5, capital 3, capital 5. Yeah. Looks good to me. So I'm curious to see how they're going to handle that, because you got to figure they are going to be selling a lot of copies of FS 2024 to existing 2020 users, and is the assumption that you're just going to abandon 2020 altogether? Because and the general understanding to this point too, from everything that they've told us, is that if it worked in 2020, it should work in 2024. That the SIM is not, the SDK is not radically changing. They expect all the scenery will work flawlessly without any real. The only thing that might need to happen with scenery is, of course, making sure that the blending, if there's. Sorry, was someone calling Toronto Tower? Okay, I copy that. Thank you. All right, we got a rifle controller now. Yeah, so the scenery I would expect would import very easily. The only thing that might be an issue is if the base scenery in the sim is slightly different, they might need different blending around the edges and the perimeters and stuff like that. But for the most part, the scenery should cross over pretty easily. It's the airplanes that I worry about, and that's where your money is really invested, is in the airplanes. I can avoid flying to certain airports if I know they don't work for a certain period of time, but I wouldn't want to do without my PMDG 777 in November, because I'd still be flying it a lot, or my 37, or my Phoenix 320. So, and those ones are much more finicky about what folder they're in too, I find. So you might need to dual install your airplanes within each sim, perhaps. So lots of unanswered questions.
Hello, City Sim 75 Heavy. We're at gate 180 with Charlie, request Alpha 1 Pig.
Walker 3775, Toronto delivery gate, evening. You're cleared to Winnipeg via the AVSIP 7 departure, Musit transition, and flight plan route. Depart runway 23, squawk code 5732.
Clear to Winnipeg is 5 for the 7 departure massive transition. We'll expect runway 23 for departure. Squawk 5732, Walker 3775 heavy.
Walker 3775, thank you. The readback is correct. Information in Toronto is Charlie. Call me when you're ready for the push, please.
Call ready for push, Walker 3775 heavy.
Yeah, lots of...
Air Canada 984, ready for taxi.
Air Canada 984, Heavy Toronto, thanks. Runway 23, information Charlie, altimeter 3010. Taxi ahead on the apron, out Alpha Mike, and then Alpha, hold short Alpha Kilo.
Taxi ahead of the apron, Alpha Mike, Alpha, and hold short Alpha Kilo for Air Canada 984.
JetBlue 1695, ready for taxi.
JetBlue 1695 Toronto, runway 23, information Charlie, altimeter 3010. Taxi down lane 5, Alpha Kilo, hold short of Alpha.
Taxi via Alpha Kilo, hold short of Alpha. JetBlue 1695.
I want to see him move before I give him anything more than that. When I see him move, then I'll give him further. But I want to see, because I want to see who gets there first. That's basically the other end of the equation. Is I want to see who gets there first and be able to reasonably prioritize people. And I have the attention to give to prioritize people properly. Ooh, we do have an arrival coming in, but I have the attention to give now because I'm focused on just one particular task. So let's see who starts moving, who gets to the Alpha Kilo intersection first. That's who's going to continue along first. Got quite a few people logged in here. Got at least 3 people logged in with no flight plans filed, so hopefully we'll get some flight plans filed. I got no flight plan, I got no flight plan, I got no flight plan. Yeah, I got 3 people with no flight plan, so hopefully we'll get them filed here soon. I mean, the JetBlue is an Airbus, so I would expect him to get moving faster too, but that's not always a given. JetBlue 1695, continue taxi, Alpha Hotel.
Continue taxi, Alpha Hotel, JetBlue 1695.
You can never be certain, you know. So people taxi their 777s too fast and their 320s too slow. It's a pilot technique thing. It's a personal thing. I'm not going to judge anybody for the speeds they move at, you know, and especially if you're new, you're unfamiliar with the airport. It is a complex airport. Trying to figure out your way around this airport when you don't know it, oh, yeah, it is a bit of a nightmare. There's just pavement everywhere, turns everywhere. It's crazy sometimes. Air Canada 198 is now on my arrivals list. That must be the guy. Yeah, it is. I noticed he populated my arrivals list there. Nice. All right, I don't have too many other people moving right now. Just these 2 guys. Get my wins up here because my tablet shut herself down while we were sitting here staring at nothing for a while.
And Toronto Ground, Walker 3775 heavy, we're ready for push and stop.
Walker 3775, thanks. Push back onto lane 9, tail to the north. Call ready for taxi.
Push back onto lane 9 and facing north, Walker 3775 heavy.
Walker 3775, make it tail north, please.
Right, that's what I was thinking, thanks. Tail north, Walker 3775 heavy.
You got it. What if the JetBlue 1695 is just feeling the pressure because he just spent so long trying to get going here? And it's funny, like you start to get impatient. You want, when you have technical glitches, you start to become impatient in this hobby. Air Canada 984 Heavy, continue taxi, Alpha Hotel.
Continue taxi, Alpha Hotel for Air Canada 984.
Just gonna pop up my VPilot here and see. Definitely got inbounds. Nobody close though right now, except for this one guy that's turning final. Definitely got a list of inbounds. I can see them here, but we got arrivals. We got 9. Just trying to see when they're going to arrive. 3 of them will probably. One of them will arrive in an hour. So we got the one guy who's just about to arrive. Next guy after that's an hour out. Beyond that, like another 20, 30 minutes thereafter. So there's guys en route, and then there's people who haven't even taken off yet. JetBlue 1695 Toronto, winds 230 at 6, clear for takeoff, runway 23.
Clear takeoff, runway 23, winds copied.
Yep, we got Air Canada 890 going to LIRF. I believe that's Rome. I forget the name of the airport in Rome, but I believe that is Rome. So you've got Dead Key 50 Lava, Q951 Talno, Q929 Toxel, Ebony, Long Beach, Aram, Talgo. He's crossing the Atlantic. That looks like a good routing to me. He's got nod altitude. I'm happy. We do have an arrival controller now. JetBlue 1695, contact departure 132.8.
132.8.
All right, Walker's on the push. Not shocked that JetBlue turned on departure. Don't delete the discons, people, for the love of God, unless you know the reason why you're deleting it. Don't delete a discon just because you see it, because it might, if there's especially a manual before it, it probably means something important is happening there. Never ends. So Alpha between Alpha Kilo, what was the NOTAM? It's not valid today, but it's valid for later in the week. So NOTAMs. Alpha between Alpha Kilo and Alpha Lima, not available to wingspan greater than 118 feet. Alpha between Alpha Kilo and Alpha Lima. This length here is going to be narrow body only. But that's not until tonight at midnight local time for Zulu. That's going to happen at, so it's not really relevant right now. Air Canada 984 Heavy Toronto. The wind's 270 at 5. Clear for takeoff. Runway 23.
Clear for takeoff. Air Canada 984.
Part of me kind of wants to throw up some of the other frequencies just to listen to what's going on. I might put them up here in the client so I can turn them on and off as I see fit when I start to get bored. So I'm going to go ahead and put
JetBlue 1695, coming to 100,000.
JetBlue 1695 departure, hello,
Air Canada 198 Heavy,
right
established on the runway 24
Direct
left.
to
Air Canada 198 Toronto. Good day, number 1. Winds 140 at 5. Clear to land. Runway 24 left.
Clear to land, runway 24 left, Air Canada 198 Heavy.
So it took that long. JetBlue just called departure now. See, the real world method, I'm trying to use the real world method today where they tell you to call departure after you're airborne, but I find it doesn't work very well in the VATSIM environment.
44, I see you're a little bit shallow in the turn there. Just confirm, are you on the approach?
JetBlue 1695, contact Toronto Center 125.77.
125 decimal 77, good day.
Sorry, if I said JetBlue, that's for Air Canada.
Hello, Cathay 775, are you ready for taxi?
Walker 3775, Toronto, runway 23, information Charlie, altimeter 3010. Taxi Delta Romeo, Delta Alpha, hold short Alpha Kilo.
Takes 23 Delta Romeo, Delta Alpha, and hold short Alpha Kilo, Walker 3775, heavy.
Air Canada 984, contact departure 132.8.
Oh, 132.8 for Air Canada 984. Sure, Air Canada with you, Air Canada 984 with you, passing 3000.
Air Canada 344,
Air Canada 984, heavy.
25.
Time flight level 230 for Air Canada 984.
Air Canada 984, heavy, left turn direct right, come on course.
Could you repeat that for Air Canada 984?
Air Canada 984, A firm, left turn direct right, come on course. Romeo, India, Kilo, Echo Mike.
Left turn direct right cam for Air Canada 984.
Another 777. I'm shocked. Is this too bright? It's almost too bright now. See, earlier it was almost so sunny in here that it was not. What if I do that, but like I don't make it quite as direct? It's a little better. It was almost getting washed out now. But earlier it was so bright behind me that I was very washed out without even doing anything. Air Canada 198 Heavy, welcome to Toronto. You can exit on Delta 6, cross the threshold of 06 left, start taxiing down Delta, and when able, say where you're parking.
Okay, so ground, we are clear of the active, and we'll taxi via Delta, crossing 06 left, and we are at gate 175.
And Air Canada 198 Heavy, gate 175 is currently occupied. Did you want to wait for it, or do you want to take another gate?
Any gate close to there.
All right, 176 is empty, so I guess the company's going to assign you that. Taxi Delta, cross runway 33 right, hold short of Alpha.
Okay, so we'll cross 24 right, and we'll hold that Alpha, Air Canada 198.
Just to make sure. That's kind of the way we train our students, and I always tell my students that is always use the low visibility method. Assume that no other aircraft can see any other aircraft. Always issue hold shorts anywhere there might be a conflict until you're sure there's no conflict, until you're sure that everyone is passing by everybody else, that they've already passed by the conflict intersection. So for me, Air Canada 198, hold short of Alpha till this guy's passed. I could see it was probably going to be fine anyways from where it was, but I wanted to be certain. I wanted to be certain it was going to be fine. And what I will do is I'll just hold him short of Alpha for now, just in case 890 calls me here, because he has the... No, I haven't given him the clearance, actually, so I know he won't call me, but we'll just wait and see here. I'm able to focus on this, and that's the beauty of doing these small positions.
Tower, good evening. Air Canada 890 Heavy, like request IFR to Rome is solved.
Air Canada 890 Heavy, Toronto, good evening. You're cleared to Rome via the Dead Key Fife departure, Olaba transition, flight plan route. Depart runway 23, squawk code 6020.
Alright, cleared to Rome via the Dead Key Fife departure, Olaba transition. Depart runway 23, squawk 6020, Air Canada 890 Heavy.
Air Canada 890 Heavy, thank you. That readback is correct. Information Charlie is current. Give me a call. Ready for the push.
Okay for push, Air Canada 890.
Walker 3775, continue taxi Alpha Hotel.
Continue taxi Alpha Hotel. Walker 3775 Heavy.
Air Canada 198, continue taxi Alpha Delta Papa.
We'll taxi at Alpha Delta Papa. Air Canada 198.
Have I said it wrong? And Air Canada 198, yeah, I said it wrong. Just continue straight ahead on Delta and enter at Delta Papa.
Okay, Delta and Delta Papa. Air Canada 198.
Yeah, my apologies. I said it wrong. I said Alpha. When I was thinking Delta, I was looking at it and I was thinking Alpha, and it's so easy too. Things are labeled, and thank goodness everything is kind of labeled on this diagram. So that if you're unfamiliar, I'm pretty familiar with everything. Anyways, I could probably give the taxiway instructions without any of those labels on there. But the gate labels are kind of neat sometimes, just to see who's on which gate. All right, anybody pop off yet? We got one guy who's going to be here in 45 minutes, one guy 5 minutes after him, another guy 15 minutes after him, and everybody else is departing or pre-filed and hasn't even left yet. So we got a number of pre-files here as well. All right, there he goes on. The hammerhead's starting to look a little busy there. A couple of heavies at the hammerhead. Kind of almost wish I had the tower view up. You could see that.
Toronto Tower, good evening, Air Canada 858 requesting on regard to Ottawa's filed with Charlie.
Air Canada 858 Toronto, good evening. I don't see your flight plan in my list. Let me consult the bigger list. And Air Canada 858, I don't see a flight plan for you anywhere here. If you could hit refile, please.
That will refile, Air Canada 858.
It's funny, ever since they introduced that new flight plan filing system, I find people forget to file or do not correctly file more often than they used to. And I think it's because like you used to be able to go into the VPilot client and just click retrieve my flight plan and boom, it would pop up right there within the client. It wouldn't just take you to another web page. The fact that it now takes you to another web page, which sometimes seems to preload your flight plan that's already pre-filed, sometimes it doesn't. I think that might be probably the biggest issue with this new flight plan page. Because it used to be like, yeah, they used to have a flight planning page, but then within the VPilot client, if you could retrieve your flight plan and see it in a separate window, not on a web page, but then they changed it now, so it's just a link to a web page. I have to personally say, I think it's it's not garbage, but it's not as good. Like, because the other thing too was I almost always would go into VPilot and retrieve the flight plan. To make for two reasons. First, it makes sure it works that the flight plan is filed. So if I've logged into the call sign and I can retrieve a flight plan, then I know it was filed correctly. I don't have to worry about it in the future. But then B, also, if I end up disconnected for any length of time, especially you're doing a long haul flight, you disconnect for 3 or 4 hours, you come back, your flight plan is no longer on file. You can just tap the refile with VPilot still open as long as you didn't close VPilot. The data is still there. And Air Canada 858, I do see your flight plan now. I will give you the clearance in just 30 seconds here.
Roger.
Walker 3775 Toronto, winds 2607, clear for takeoff, runway 23.
Clear for takeoff, runway 23, Walker 3775 Heavy.
Air Canada 858, you're clear to the Ottawa Macdonald-Cartier Airport via the Verdo 7 departure, LSUB transition, flight plan route, depart runway 23, squawk code 5561.
Clear to Ottawa as filed, Verdo 7 departure, LSUB transition, and could you repeat the squawk code please for Air Canada 858?
Air Canada 858, your squawk 5561.
5561, Air Canada 858.
Air Canada 858, thank you. That readback is correct. Information in Toronto's Charlie. Give me a call, ready for pushback.
Information Charlie will call for the push, Air Canada 858.
All right. Beats 3, Foxy, Q145, Charlie West, Hillary, DeAndre 1. He's going to Atlanta. I know that flight plan without even seeing the destination. I know that flight plan. I've flown that flight plan. I've flown that flight plan more than once. Huddy LMAO. Hello from Air Canada 890. Hello, welcome. Yeah, there you are. You see yourself there. You know where you are. Anyways, you're parked on the Hammerhead at Gate 174. But welcome to the stream. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, you'll be able to watch your progress. It's going to be a little bit weird. You'll probably have to mute me once you start taxing, so you get the double audio. Walker 3775. Contact departure now. 132.8. G'day.
132.8. Thanks. Walker 3775 for me.
You watch my YouTube videos. Hey, all right. Wow, those look really sickly yellow color, don't they? It's just the light. I've still got the light on, but I kind of just angled it away a little bit. But I appreciate that. No, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm always humbled by the number of people that have watched my videos. It frankly shocks me now. Like when I started my YouTube channel, I thought if I get like 100 subscribers, it'll be a miracle. I never would have thought like I would. I'm approaching, I think, 5,000 subscribers. I don't put as many videos out there as I'd like. I do a lot of the streams and then re-upload the streams to my YouTube channel. I don't have the time, and I don't know why. Because when I do get down to work on some of my videos, I really enjoy the process and I really enjoy doing it. But sometimes the life is full of distractions. I never seem to get focused in on them, unfortunately. But I'm glad to see you're flying the 777. So I don't know if you caught my last live stream, but I will have another video posted to my channel. I flew the 777 on stream for a little bit of just a fun flight, not part of my pilot's life career, but just a fun flight. And so I don't claim to be a 777 expert. I will readily admit I am definitely not an expert at the 777. I would like to. Recently finished ground school. Going to do your first solo flight. Oh, congratulations! Well done. Congratulations. And it's a little bit of a shame because I saw it coming about 9 months ago, and I missed it. But this past May. Was it May or was it June? It might have even been June. I think it was May. This past May was the 25th anniversary of my first solo.
Good evening, Toronto Tower, Delta 2097 with the Charlie, looking for IFR to Atlanta.
Delta 2097, Toronto, good evening. You're cleared to Atlanta via the Beats 3 departure, Foxy transition, flight plan route. Your departure runway is 23, squawk code 6267.
Clear to the Atlanta airport via the Beats 3 departure, Foxy transition, flight plan route. And then setting the altitude, but our squawk is 6267 for Delta 2097.
Delta 2987, your readback is correct. Altitudes are published on the chart. If you don't have the chart, let me know and I'll give you some alternate instructions.
We have the chart. Thank you, Delta 2097.
Delta 2097, roger. Information is Charlie. Give me a call ready for push.
We'll call for push, 2097.
Trying to get the 777 pilot's life. That's why. Yeah. And I kind of want to do that too. I need to save up money. If you've been watching my streams, you know, but I have about $2,400 in cash in my pilot's life bank account. You need $4,000 for 777 type rating. So it's going to be at least another. I mean, I make an average of $150 a flight at this point, probably on pilot's life. So, yeah, it's going to be somewhere between $100 and $150. So, it's going to be another 2 seasons before I can afford the 777. Yeah, see, you feel my pain as well. My bigger pain is that I really, because I'm so strict about doing all of my streams live online in front of everybody that I do not make fast progress. I do one flight every 2 weeks on average nowadays. So but you know what? Nevertheless, I gotta say, like, that is one of the best pieces of software for flight simmers I think I've ever come across. It's very well designed. The career, you gotta make some money. You gotta work your way up the ladder. So it's not 100% realistic in that sense of, oh, you gotta work your way up the ladder. What is going on here? I think my flight aware is just lagging out because it looks like 4 airplanes are on top of each other, but I don't believe that. So, um, what was I say? Yeah, you have to claw your way up the ladder, and it takes a lot of time and effort. There is an element of luck to it, and I love that they threw that element of luck in there. There is a chance. It's a small one, but there is a chance that you could get hired by like a 4-star or 5-star airline the first time you apply. It's not very likely, but it's possible. There is a statistical chance. I think it's like 11% or something like that, that if you're like a 1-star pilot, you might get hired by a 5-star airline, but it's there. Most of the time, you're going to get rejected. Um, but that's the way the real industry works sometimes too. I mean, you get people who just get lucky. They know somebody. They know somebody, and they happen to get a good interview. They get a good first job. They get, their second job ends up being like a fantastic airline job because they got a good first job because they happen to get a good interview. And sometimes it's just luck. Sometimes it's not even you knew somebody. It's you just walked in the door on the right day. The guy needed somebody badly. He needed them today. You walk in. You had a resume that met the requirements. Boom, you're hired. More often than not, you got to kind of grind it out, and you got to follow the process. But it happens from time to time that people just get lucky. So yeah, there's the PDC for account 125. So yeah, and the way the months are scheduled, and you can skip a flight if you want to, but it'll cost you something. It'll cost you a sick day to skip a flight. You get a limited number of sick days. It's possible. It's not going to go great, but it's possible. So there's so much about the way a pilot's life is set up that makes it just a very addictive little thing. And yeah, these schedules that they put together, they're fairly realistic. I think you can make them fairly realistic. Um, it's a good representation. Maybe not 100% realistic, but I think it's a good representation of how the bidding process works in an airline. You don't get necessarily everything you want. Sometimes you end up with some things you don't want. Um, you got to deal with it. You got to fly it. So it's a fantastic. It's a fantastic way of running the sim. And yeah, you got rejected 4 times by Air Canada before you finally got accepted. Yeah, I mean that might be the way it happens in the real world. You might get told, you get what they call the PFO, which stands for please, and then insert expletive here, but that basically is a letter from the airline. It's they won't say it, but that's the nickname for the letter where they politely ask you to, or they politely say you haven't been hired, or you're not being considered. Yeah, where are you going?
Tower, Canada 890, ready for push.
Air Canada 890 tower, push back, tail to the east, call ready for taxi.
Tail east, we'll call you for taxi, Air Canada 890.
Or south, either way, whatever it looks like. yeah. I mean, that APU is definitely not going to burn a low amount of fuel. You got to make sure you save it for the trip there, because you're going all the way to Rome. You don't want to run out there. Because I had the little adventure with the triple when I did take it out, and it wasn't even anything to do with the triple. It was just the stupid sim brief planning because I tried to put in 30 minutes, but it defaulted to 30 pounds of extra fuel, and that's all I had going to Stockholm. So as soon as I was airborne, I was low on fuel already. Of course. Still made it to Stockholm in the end, but I had 30 pounds of extra fuel. Like in the triple, what's that? That's like 5 minutes of running the APU. That's nothing. So there was no other extra fuel in the tank. So like it was exactly perfectly planned. And then as soon as I got airborne, the winds were not favorable, and there was nothing I could do to decrease my fuel burn. Usually you reduce your cost index, the fuel burn starts to go down. But I don't know if it was the altitude or just the wind combination, the length of the trip. But nothing I could do could get that fuel burn down. It was so we ended up landing with less than the required reserves when we got to Stockholm. We said that it's a VFR day, it's a good day, we can make it in. But yeah, so I'm going to post that video probably in another 2 or 3 days. Yeah, flew from Toronto.
Good day, Air Canada 125, we have PDC identifier 113 room.
Air Canada 125, Toronto, thank you. Readback is correct. Information is Charlie. And give me a call ready for pushback.
We'll call you for push, Air Canada 125.
Yeah, I'll always load extra fuel. Always load extra fuel. Like when you the real world flight plans, there's always, first of all, there's always a 5% contingency fuel, which is what SimBrief will give you. But that is really, in the grand scheme of things, 5% is almost next to nothing. You can burn 5% of extra fuel standing on your head. You can run the APU for a long time at the gate and probably burn that extra 5 fuel or get a long taxi out. That's exactly what that 5% is there for. It's for contingencies. It's for the taxi out took longer. We had to wait for takeoff. We were number 17 in line for takeoff, or we got a long vector on the approach, or a long vector on the departure, anything, or we had to get a reroute, a short reroute around some weather, around some traffic, or something like that. That's what that 5% is for. But that is
Strong Tower, Canada 858, ready for push and start at gate 175.
Air Canada 858 Toronto. Thanks. I'll call you back. I got traffic behind you right now.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, you always got to bring extra fuel, and certainly if you're not familiar and comfortable with the airplane, I would say at least 30 minutes of extra fuel. Whether you put it under ATC or weather, however you want to define it, but very rarely would we take off with anything less than about 10 minutes of extra fuel, and that's kind of a bare minimum situation. And then you got to take into account the vagaries of Microsoft Flight Simulator and VATSIM. VATSIM, you're going to have less skilled controllers, you're going to have less skilled pilots. The system will not work as effectively as it should. The other thing is, of course, you're working in the MSFS world. Your winds are your fuel burn is incredibly dependent upon your winds. So you are depending on those winds to accurately match the real world forecast for most of that flight, which in MSFS generally will happen. But there will be periods of time where if you lose, and case in point, this happened to me one time. If you lose your internet connection for an extended period of time, after about 5 or 10 minutes, I guess as far as I understand it, what happens is, of course, Microsoft Flight Simulator downloads a weather package around you, and as you fly out of where that weather package is, it downloads another weather package for where you are. So if you lose your internet connection as you keep flying and you fly out of that weather package, no more internet connection, no more downloads, all of a sudden, boom, you're a calm winds. If you're depending on a tailwind to get you to your destination, you're going to be SOL. You're going to be potentially tons short if the winds are not at least somewhat like forecast. So yeah, at a bare minimum, at an absolute bare minimum, I would take 10 minutes of extra fuel, but that's like, I believe everything's going to go perfect. In the VATSIM world, I seldom believe everything's going to go perfect. I usually try to take more like 20 to 30 minutes. The only thing that sometimes is a restriction, of course, is landing weight can become an issue if you start carrying that much extra. Air Canada 890 Heavy Toronto, runway 23, information Charlie, altimeter 3010, taxi out Alpha Mike, Alpha, hold short, Alpha Kilo.
Right, Alpha Mike, Alpha, hold short, Alpha Kilo, Air Canada 890.
Air Canada 858 Toronto, give way to the company triple that's going to start taxiing behind you, your right to left. Once they're out of the way, push back, tail to the east, call ready for taxi.
All right, we'll give way to the company traffic behind, and we'll push back to the east, and we'll call back once we push back. Air Canada 858.
Thank you. Yeah. VATSIM, I tend to take a bit of a more conservative approach almost to VATSIM than I do to the real world, just because there's more that can probably go wrong on VATSIM, in all honesty. And not even VATSIM per se, in flight simulation, because you, like I said, you lose those winds. If you were expecting an average 40 knot tailwind all the way there, and the winds go to zero because you lose your internet connection for a good period of time, you could, like I said, you could be out a ton of fuel or more. It depends on how long, and so, yeah, I tend to be a little bit more conservative when I'm. The other thing, of course, especially with the triple, is because I often walk away from it too, and I often plan on not coming back for a while. So I will often load. If the landing weight will allow it, I will often load an hour to an hour and a half right now in the triple, just because the other thing I'll do before I leave, rather than do the pause, drop, because I get it, and I like it in a way, but what I'd rather do is try and keep it realistic. Instead of a pause, drop, I'd basically do a hold, a top, a drop, where I program in a hold somewhere on the arrival, and then I walk away. But I make sure that the hold is programmed in before I walk away, even if I just took off. I did it before. I did it the other day. I did it. What I do? I did Heathrow to Denver, and I took off from Heathrow. And as soon as I was airborne out of Heathrow, I programmed in the hold on the arrival into Denver, and then I went to work. And the trouble was when I went to work, of course, I was delayed. I didn't come back on time, and my airplane was sitting there trucking around the hold near Denver.
Delta 2987, request push and start.
Delta 2987, make sure the transponder's on. What gate are you at?
I believe we're at Alpha 12 for 2987.
Delta 2987. I don't see anyone at Alpha 12. I see one parked at Alpha 4. I believe that might be you. Just make sure the transponder is on. You can push back onto lane 1, tail to the east, and call for taxi.
Okay, tail to the east. I'll call you for taxi, 2987.
Yeah, that is him. So I got home, and the thing was trucking around the hold. It had been holding for probably about an hour and a half, and I thought I had like an hour to spare. I thought I was going to make it home an hour before I even reached that hold point, cancel the hold, and just fly the Star. And instead, I was so late. The thing had been holding for at least an hour, and I sat down in front of the computer, and I had, what did I have? I had 1,200 kilos in the tank in the 777, and I was like, oh, okay. So it was too far away from Denver. Probably was not going to make Denver. So I immediately turned tail and went direct to the closest airport I thought was reasonably able to handle 777, which ended up being Cheyenne. Basically did an almost idle descent from that point to Cheyenne. I think we got down to probably about 2,000 feet or something on the approach, and finally the engine started to spool up again because we'd slowed down enough and gone down enough that we were on the ILS. But we did an almost idle descent from 36,000 or something like that all the way down, and it I landed in Cheyenne. The engines didn't flame out, but I had 300 kilos in each tank. So that was a little bit of an extreme example. The nice thing about flight simulation is it doesn't do you any harm. You can take risks. You can do stuff like that, and I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? Well, it was a simulated flight. Nothing actually really happens. I was disconnected from the network, so if I run out of gas on my computer, what are you going to do? You try to squeeze in these long haul flights when you can, because it's hard. It's hard. Like you're going to do this flight to Rome. That's going to be what, 10 hours, I think. I assume you're going to go to bed and wake up in the morning and land, and that's sometimes the only way you can squeeze these things in. I did see the Air Canada 777 that had compressor stall.
And Toronto Air Canada 858 is facing out to Alpha Mike.
Air Canada 858 Toronto, runway 23, information now Delta, altimeter still 3010. Taxi Alpha Mike Alpha, hold short Alpha Kilo.
Alpha Mike Alpha, hold short Alpha Kilo for Air Canada 858.
And I thought I gave you short of Alpha Kilo, but never mind. Continue Alpha Hotel. I thought I did, but I might have said Alpha Hotel. Either way, it's fine. We're chatting, so I'm obviously distracting you during the important parts here. I did see that Air Canada flight that had the compressor stall leaving Toronto. That was really interesting. I went and listened to the live ATC audio of it as well, and that was really interesting because they were kind of going through all the motions and bringing the aircraft around for return to land after they reduced the engine power, and they figured out it was going to run with reduced engine power, but they were not going to be able to make it to destination, obviously, like that when they only just departed Toronto. So they're circling back to land, and what was interesting was how they kept on they kept on talking to the Toronto ATC, and he kept on just kind of mentioning the weather. So normally you take your time with these things, right? Like you have the checklist you have to do to shut the engine down and make sure it's secure, make sure everything's safe for landing. At that point, 777 departure, they probably have to do an overweight landing checklist as well, maybe even consider dumping fuel. And then you get the Toronto's controller telling them like, okay, well, the visibility is okay right now, but we can see the weather's off on the western horizon there. Looks like the rain showers are moving this way. Like you've got a time limit now. That's not something you normally want to have when you're on a
Ground Air Canada 125, gate 141, we're ready for push.
Air Canada 125, Toronto, thanks. Push back, tail south, call ready for taxi.
tail south Woodcroft taxi, Air Canada 125.
Normally you want to take your time with an emergency situation, but this is one of those interesting ones where it's like time is suddenly not an option. If you don't land in the next 10 to 15 minutes, you might be stuck up there for an hour or two while you wait for the weather to pass through. So that to me was the really interesting part of it. I mean, you listen to live ATC and everyone's so monotone and uninterested. It's just like business-like. It's fantastic in a way, but at the same time, you think about these things, it's like the adrenaline must have been pumping for at least a couple seconds before these guys called up and they calmed themselves down just to sound all professional. But yeah, interesting. Like it almost to listen to it, it almost sounds like a script for a sim
Delta
session.
2097 with Delta, ready for taxi.
Delta 2987 Toronto, thank you for Delta. Runway 23, the altimeter 3010, taxi out Alpha Tango, Alpha and Hotel.
Taxi to runway 23 via Alpha Tango, Alpha Hotel, Delta 2987.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because like that's the kind of thing you write to a sim session where you then okay, yeah, you have like a normal failure, but now you have a time deadline. Air Canada 62 had flap failure on landing, had to switch to 24 right because the winds were too strong on runway 23. Yeah, there's always all sorts of interesting stuff happening. All right, we got another departure. Air Canada 470. Now these guys are all flying on their flight plans and getting logged in. That looks good. That looks good. This guy's he's going to SEQM. Is that, where's SEQM? Is that Quito? Is that Venezuela, I think? Air Canada 890 Heavy, Toronto. Winds are 260 at 6. Clear for takeoff, runway 23.
Clear for takeoff 23, Air Canada 890.
Always lots of interesting incidents happening. If you want an interesting American perspective on incidents that are happening, I shouldn't tell you now because you're busy. But let me make sure Delta's making a right turn, right Delta. Yeah, okay. For a second, it kind of looked like he was starting to bear a little bit left. I was getting a little worried there. I gave Air Canada 858 his tax clearance, but he's not going anywhere. Okay, I gotta update these tags here. He is pushing. He is taxiing. He is departing. He is taxiing. Even the steady stream of departures. So let's see how we've been doing here now. So this second edition of my stream has been going for about 90 minutes, and that's about the time I have left. I have about 90 more minutes left, and then I am going to have to hop offline because I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to go to bed. Much like you on your way to Europe, I'm also going to have to go to bed at some point before too long. Air Canada 890 Heavy, contact departure 132.8. Good night.
328, Air Canada 890, good night.
Here comes Air Canada 858.
Toronto Tower, $82. Good evening. Requesting IFR clearance to Quito, gate 525, Boeing 777W.
$82, Toronto, good evening. You're cleared to Quito via the Beats 3 departure, Erie transition, flight plan route, departure runway 23, squawk 6250.
Okay, we're cleared to Quito via the Beats 3 departure, Erie transition, flight plan route. Runway for departure is runway 23, squawk 6250, $82.
$82, the readback is correct. Information is Delta. Give me a call when you're ready for pushback.
Okay, we'll call for pushback, $82.
It goes. How's it going with you? I take it you're going to be heading out in a minute? Yeah, I could do it. Just give me a second to get Guy airborne here, and then I'll coordinate a handoff here. Who's on arrival? Is it Cyrus is on arrival? Arian, okay. Yeah, give me a couple minutes to coordinate a handoff, and I'll hop up. All right, so we're going to shift gears here, and I'm going to take over center in a minute just because we're going to do a little handoff here. Delta 2987 Toronto, contact departure 132.8 once you're airborne. The wind's 260 at 5, clear for takeoff, runway 23.
We'll contact departure once we're airborne and clear for takeoff 23.
Air Canada 858, continue taxi Alpha Hotel.
Continue taxi, Alpha Hotel, Air Canada 858.
All right, so I got to go find my... Okay, so let me see here. AVSEPS, what's he on? He's on the Beats 3 Foxy. For some reason, the Beats transitions never come up properly, so there it is. Okay. All right, so he's taxing. All right, I'm going to distract myself with trying to find a controller. Arrival from tower. I guess Matt's going to leave, so I'm going to take over center, so I'm going to hand you tower in a bit. So let me know when you're ready for a briefing here.
Ground Air Canada 125 is ready.
And of course, stand by 1 second. Air Canada 125, Toronto, runway 23, information Delta, altimeter 3010. Taxi out Alpha Kilo, Alpha, and Hotel.
Alpha Kilo, Alpha Hotel, hold short 23, Air Canada 125.
Toronto Tower, good evening, Air Canada 470. We're parked at gate 167. We have information Delta aboard. Request IFR clearance to Ottawa is filed.
Air Canada 470, Toronto, good evening. You're cleared to Ottawa via the Verto 7 departure, LSUB transition, flight plan route, depart runway 23, squawk code 6231.
Cleared to Ottawa as filed via the Verto 7 departure by the LSUB off runway 23, and we will squawk 6231 for Air Canada 470.
Air Canada 470, that readback is correct. Information in Toronto's Delta. Give me a call ready for pushback.
Wilco, Air Canada 470.
Delta 2987, contact departure 132.8.
Oh, departure 132.8. Thanks for the HC, Delta 2987.
Take care. Okay, they stopped talking. You ready? Okay, so obviously you know the configuration here. It is information Delta now. So I got one airborne. He's going to call you momentarily.
Pearson Tower, good evening. Canadian 157 at the Bravo gate. Let's pick up IFR to Ottawa with the weather.
Canadian 157 Toronto, good evening. You're cleared to Ottawa via the Verto 7 departure, LSUB transition, flight plan route. Depart runway 23, squawk 5600.
All right, cleared to Ottawa, Verto 7 departure, flight plan route, depart 23, squawk 5600, Canadian 157.
Canadian 157, thank you. The readback is correct. Information Delta is current, and call when you're ready for the push.
All right, Delta is current, and we'll call for the push, Canadian 157.
Okay, you ready?
Toronto Tower, $82. We're ready for push and start at gate 521.
$82, push and start at your discretion. Call ready for taxi.
Call for taxi, $82.
Okay, so I got two on the taxi out, Air Canada 858 and Canadian 15, Air Canada 125. The one that just called me was $82. He's just pushing at the infield there. And then hopefully everything's marked up correctly. Air Canada 470 and Canadian 157 have their clearance. No pushback clearance yet for them. And Air Canada 713, no call at all yet. And that's the whole thing. All right, you ready? I'll just hand them all to your frequency now. Air Canada 858, you can contact departure 132.8 and let him know when you're ready. Tower's going to be closing down now.
All right, over to 132.8. Thanks for the help, and have a great night. Air Canada 858.
Good night. Air Canada 125, monitor 132.8, and give him a call when you're ready, holding short 23.
132.8, Air Canada 125, connect.
$82, monitor 132.8, let him know when you're ready for taxi.
3284, $82. Good night.
Good night. Air Canada 470. You can monitor 132.8. Let him know when you're ready for the push. Canadian 157. Monitor 132.8. Let him know when you're ready for the push. And if anybody else is monitoring Toronto Tower frequency, Toronto Tower is now closed. Monitor the Toronto arrival frequency 132.8, and he will handle all your needs. It's a weird way to phrase it, but anyways.
All right, 32.8, Canadian 157, good night.
Good night. All right, tower is all yours. I should have switched them all over. If anybody doesn't call you, they weren't listening. All right, I'm going to go on center. I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, so I've closed the oops. Close the tower, make sure this disconnects, and then I got to pull up the center views as well. So I need that one and that one. All right, so I'm going to connect as center. If I can find it here. There it is. Find it in my list. And I have to find the center controller now. All right, tower is closed. Switched positions, it closed down, but I relaunched the ATIS, so that's good. So yeah, let me know what you got. Okay. Okay. Cool. And do you have any ATISs running as well? Okay. Cool. All right. Let me just make sure I have voice on here. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, yeah, I'm good to go. All right, center my control. Cool, thanks. All right, now we're on center. Just like that. There's actually not that much stuff going on center, so that's fine. All right, so he said he had Sault Ste. Marie, he had information echo for runway 22, so I might as well reconnect that. And then the other thing I probably need to connect here, I could probably close this down because I don't need to see what's happening on the ground anymore in Toronto. But I will open up an Ottawa view if I can find out what runway's in use in Ottawa. Let's see here, Ottawa. Ottawa today is using runways 25 and 22. So let's go ahead and put up an ATIS for 25 in Ottawa. We got a couple departures there, and it's information Mike right now. All right. Trying to add some stuff to my list here. There. All right, now I got some stuff going on here. They're cleared all the way up. He's just transiting. Yeah, it's not very exciting right now, but that's okay. You know what? And then it's kind of a nice change up from Tower now, too. Toronto covers Ottawa. 123 arrivals into Atlanta.
439, very good evening at 50256, climbing level 280, Toronto Center.
And who is that call sign calling?
Air 439, good evening.
Air Canada 439. Okay, I don't see you. Where are you right now?
I am just departing from Montreal past Turkey.
Air Canada 439. Okay, if you're just west of Tukir, I do see a prime target only. Make sure the transponder's on, please. Maybe that's why I don't see you.
You what? Say again?
Air Canada 439. Make sure the transponder's on. I just see a prime target. I don't see any altitude or information on you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That would be why I can't see him.
Sorry about that. It's been a while I didn't fly Airbus, so I forgot this. There you go.
Sure, blame the Airbus. Air Canada 439, thanks. Squawk code 0501.
0501.
All right, so I'm going to open up the Ottawa terminal view and the Ottawa ground view here so that I'm ready for whoever comes out of Ottawa next, because these guys just got airborne. Air Canada 439, thank you very much. You're now identified at flight level 280. The information in Toronto's Delta, runway 24 left for arrivals.
24 left arrival for Toronto and information Delta. Thank you for Air Canada 439.
Delta 2987 Toronto, you're about to leave my airspace to the south. Cleveland Center is not online. Switch to the en route frequency. Surveillance service terminates.
Over to Unicom. Have a good rest of your weekend. Delta 2987.
Take care. How can you talk to them on the landline? I want to become a backhand controller line up in the line. Yeah. Basically, all the landline communication generally takes place through TeamSpeak. So we basically just step into a channel, call out the name of the person we're trying to talk to, and that's the equivalent of making the landline calls. The nice thing is, of course, you can be in private rooms within TeamSpeak, so you can have like a somewhat private conversation, so it can be kind of realistic in that respect. Air Canada 439 Toronto, when ready, descend flight level 240. Air Canada 439 Toronto, when ready, descend flight level 240.
Air 439, descend flight level 240. Did you hear me?
Air Canada 439, I hear you that time. That descent is at your discretion.
Okay, roger. Thank you. Descend at our discretion. Yep.
Delta 227, go direct to Kemvy. They're not as close as they look, but it looks like they're close when they're out there. Delta 227 Heavy Toronto.
Direct Kemvy, Delta 227.
Thank you.
Toronto Center, good evening, Air Canada 459, 111,000 for 260.
Air Canada 459 Toronto, good evening. Squawk code 0563.
0563, 459.
Ping people earlier.
Toronto Center, United 221, descending by the Ling. Arrival with information Delta.
United 221 Toronto, good evening. Confirm your current flight level and squawk ident.
Toronto Center, Air Canada 125 through 10.5 for 230.
Air Canada 125 Heavy Toronto, good evening. Climb flight level 270.
Climb 270, Air Canada 125.
United 221 Toronto, squawk ident and confirm your current altitude.
Squawking ident, flight level 293, descending to 13,000.
United 221, thank you. You're identified. Descend 17,000. Toronto altimeter 3010.
Descend 17,000 for United 221.
Air Canada 459 Toronto, you're identified climbing through 14,000. Continue climb flight level continue climb flight level 260.
260, Air Canada 459, thank you.
United 221, the Toronto information is Delta, runway 24 left for arrivals. United 221, runway 24 left for arrival, information Delta.
24 left, arrival for United 221, information Delta.
Air Canada 125 Heavy, continue climb, flight level 360.
360, Canada 125.
Toronto Central, $82. We're passing 11,500 for 15,000.
$82 Toronto, good evening, climb, flight level 230.
Captain 230, $82.
It's kind of funny. I wonder how many of these guys are kind of picking up on it. Some of them probably kind of.
Toronto Center, my apologies. I know I copied and then suddenly it left my head. Can you please confirm the arrival runway one more time for United 221?
United 221, no problem. It's runway 24 left.
Roger, 24 left. Thank you so much, United 221.
No problem. I wonder how many of these guys are like.
Toronto Center, good evening. Air Canada 858 with you now, passing through level 210 for 230.
Air Canada 858 Toronto, good evening. Climb, flight level 310.
2310 for Air Canada 858.
Air Canada 858, proceed direct L sub.
Direct L sub, Air Canada 858.
United 221, descend 11,000.
11,000 for United 221.
$82, continue climb, flight level 390.
Okay, continue 390, $82.
And $82, as I kind of look further downstream, your flight's primarily on a westerly heading. You're going to need an even altitude. Would you like to go all the way up to 40, or do you want to stop at 38?
We'll go for 38 for now, $82.
$82, climb, maintain flight level 380. Nobody's online in Cleveland, but I'm pretty sure there's some people online further downstream that'll complain if you're not at the right altitude.
Roger that. I'll keep it on 380, $82.
Thank you. Air Canada 439 Toronto, descend 8,000, Toronto altimeter 3010.
439 descending at flight level 8,000 and altimeter say again.
Toronto altimeter 3010.
3010.
United 221, contact Toronto arrival now, 132.8. Good night.
132.8 for United 221. Have a good night.
What's the history behind Walker Air? Honestly, I don't know. It's a very popular little airline. I really don't know too much about their history. But if you search for it on Reddit, you can find it. The rise and fall of Walker Air Transport, however, recruiting campaign for one of FlightSim's most popular virtual airlines spiraled into its members coming forward with accusations of harassment, intimidation, and doxing by the group's founder. uh, so there you go. You want to find out about Walker Air? I'll post the link there in my chat there. Because I just Googled it, and that's what it came up. I had heard something about there was some issues with the people, the administrators, and people's personal information being abused by people who are running the airline. And that's the trouble. You put your personal information out there, and you're kind of you're always taking a bit of a risk. Nothing on the internet is ever foolproof, anyways. Air Canada 890 Heavy Toronto, you're about to leave my airspace to the east. Montreal Centre is not online. Switch to the en route frequency. Surveillance service terminates.
Over to Unicom, Air Canada 896 ATC.
Take care. $1.82 Toronto, you leave my airspace to the south. Cleveland Centre's not online. Switch to the en route frequency. Surveillance service terminates. Have yourself a good night.
Okay, Unicom for $1.82. Good night. Take care.
Take care. Yeah, I know there was some and that's the thing about the internet. You put your information out there. We will sign up our email addresses, drop our email addresses on almost anything. And the one thing about the internet that I think has been proved over and over again, and that I think we all have to keep in mind whenever whatever we're doing on the internet, is that no information on the internet is safe. I think that is the best way to operate. I know it's a bit of a pessimistic attitude, but I think that's the best way to operate on the internet. No information is safe. It's not a question of if an organization will get hacked, but the better question is just simply when. How long before it does get hacked? Pretty much every organization out there has gotten or will get hacked at some point, whether it be corporations, whether it be governments, everybody. So I've become a lot more clear about what information I really share. What do I need to share with these organizations? Do I need to share this information? Air Canada 459 Toronto. The information in Pearson is Delta, plan runway 24 left.
That's check 24 left, 459.
Air Canada 459er, when ready, descend flight level 240.
240 when ready, Air Canada 459.
Delta 227 Heavy, you leave my airspace to the east. The Montreal Centre is not online. Switch to the en route frequency. Surveillance service terminates. Have a good day.
Roger, frequency change approved, Delta 227. We'll see you.
Take care. Yeah, I've become a lot more pessimistic about the internet. And I tend not to share. I always the first question I have when someone asks for personal information is, why do you need it? Do you really need it? Or can I fake my way through it? Can I just put can I put some fake name down there? You log into a hotel Wi-Fi and they want your email address. Guess what? You're not getting the real deal. I don't see any need for that, and that's the thing. Is there's so much data gathering going on. Do you need the data? It drives me nuts. You can relax now. You're off on Unicom. No more VATSIM controllers hassling you. Air Canada 858 Toronto. The Ottawa information is Mike, runway 25 for arrival today.
All right, information Mike for Ottawa, and expect the runway 25 arrival for Air Canada 858.
Air Canada 858, thanks. When ready, descend 8,000. Ottawa altimeter is 3005.
Okay, when ready, we'll descend down to 8,000 for Air Canada 858.
Air Canada 459, when ready, descend 8,000. Toronto altimeter 3010. Air Canada 459 Toronto, when ready, descend 8,000. Toronto altimeter 3010. Or not, fine, whatever. See if I care. yeah, you have to sometimes just ask, like, what do you need the information? Because the second you gather it, it'll probably never get deleted, and it'll just be sitting there until some hacker accesses the database. And a lot of information is not really relevant. I mean, your email address is probably public knowledge at this point. Everyone's address is probably to some degree public knowledge. Um, but it just goes to that whole philosophy of like companies always trying to collect the max amount of data. Like what's really started to bug me as of late is the number of companies that require a phone number to deliver a product. If you want to buy something online, not only do they need an email address, now they need a phone number as well, and it's starting to really bother me. It used to be you get away without a phone number, and now everyone wants a phone number for deliveries. It's yeah, I get the idea of people trying to get in contact with you, but I feel like that's not the purpose really. That's the supposed purpose. But I don't want to think I'm a conspiracy theorist. I don't think there's like any great overarching organizations that are trying to gather your data for the most part. I think there are a few out there. I think, like the NSA in the U.S. and the CIA do collect a lot of data about a lot of people, a lot of metadata about a lot of people. In a lot of cases, it's not necessarily that your data is just getting scooped up in vast swaths of data that are being collected to try and find certain people or isolate certain things. And I can't. I honestly say I don't have too much of a problem with some of these organizations doing their job, but sometimes you just have to ask, does the data need to be created in the first place? And yeah, it may not be malicious, but most of these organizations are going to lose your data at some point. They're going to get hacked at some point. People are going to get your data. Like the whole Ashley Madison hack. I know that was a long time ago. I know that's ancient history, but that just kind of blew me away. More for the sense that like people thought, hey, they say it's safe, it must be safe. My personal data could never leak out onto the internet, right? Like that alone was just like that attitude, that cavalier attitude alone, um, really kind of shocked and surprised me. The fact that this website existed, like here's a website for you to have an affair with people. That's its whole reason for existence. It's not even like you're on some other dating website and maybe you're married, maybe the person you're dating is married, maybe they're not. It's 100% known that that's what this website is for, and yeah, that everyone was shocked and upset that their personal data leaked out on the internet. And it's like, did you not see it coming? Not that I had any interest in using, but it's one of those things. It's like people play the victim, but why are you creating that data in the first place? Air Canada 439, contact arrival now 132.8.
132.8 for Canada 439. See you.
Good night. Walker 3775 Heavy, Toronto. You're about to leave my airspace to the west. Winnipeg is not online. Switch to the en route frequency. Surveillance service terminates.
Aberdeen Home, thanks for your help tonight. We'll cut to D775 Heavy.
Take care. Yeah, you got to assume that data is going to leak out on the internet at some point. Air Canada 459 Toronto, descend 8,000, altimeter 3010.
8,000 Air Canada 459.
Now he's listening. Right up there with the guy, and I couldn't believe this was like a news article in the newspaper. The guy who complained that he got a speeding ticket from the same speeding camera 3 times. If you got a speeding ticket from the same speeding camera 3 times, and he's like, the camera's got to be problematic. It's like I tend to probably believe that you're speeding. But pretty much, it's not universal, but the vast majority of drivers, certainly in North America, speed consistently. So if you get a speeding, I don't feel pity. I feel like you're a bit of a fool if you get a speeding ticket from the same speeding camera over and over and over again. The first one should be a wake-up call. Hey, there's a speeding camera right there. Don't speed in that area. And then everyone's up and, well, it's just a cash grab. It's like, no, what we're trying to do is we're trying to actually create a safer society, and the slowly eroding norms of driver courtesy and consideration are just it's frightening when you start to combine this with larger and larger vehicles on the road. And yeah, just the it's scary out there sometimes being a motorist, let alone being a pedestrian or a cyclist out there on the roads. I am all for let's slow the society down. People are in way too much of a hurry as it is, and they think that in their car is the one place where they're safe, that they can just absolutely rush through life and come hell or high water with no consideration for anybody else that is out there on the roads. I find that exasperating too. The normalization of deviation that has gone on in
Toronto Centre, good evening. Air Canada 470, passing through 17,000 inbound Birdo.
Air Canada 470 Toronto. Good evening. Climb flight level 250.
Up to 250 for Air Canada 470.
Yeah, I go. Huddy LMAO says that I go 5 over whenever I drive, and I will admit that in the past I did used to speed, and I'm not particularly impressed with myself for having done it for as long as I did. But I've recently kind of, as I've driven past the school and I've walked to the school, but it you know, I realized that like almost every neighborhood is somebody's neighborhood. Somebody lives in that neighborhood. Somebody's kids play on that street. So any municipal road, I am driving the speed limit. Period. That is the maximum I'm driving. When you get on the controlled access highways, I go a little bit faster than that. But even then, the speed at which people are bombing past me, like I'll be going over the limit by what I think is a kind of an okay amount, and people are bombing by you sometimes like you're standing still. And then they complain that they get multiple tickets. Well, there's a reason why you're getting multiple tickets. Yeah, I couldn't believe like that was a newsworthy story. Resident upset he gets speeding ticket from the speeding camera 3 times. Don't speed past the camera. That's a good solution. And you see it on these cameras too. Like we have them in our town too, and the amount of graffiti that goes on those cameras. People trying to paint over the lens, and the lens is covered with a special coat of glass that nothing sticks to, that paint doesn't stick to. But you can see all around the lens on the metal part of the camera case, it's all been spray painted. People try to go up there and spray paint it, but it doesn't stick to that glass. It's a special kind of glass they use because they see what people are going to do. Because there's enough people out there that are going to think that they should take the law into their own hands. That little bit of law enforcement is a terrible thing, and that they, again, like I said, like the lackadaisical entitled attitude that people have. Yeah, people speed and then slow down dramatically when they see a cop. Yeah, I had 2 cops pass me on the way to work this morning. I didn't bat an eyelid. I was going slightly over the speed limit, but they overtook me by a large margin. And that's part of the trouble too, is like the normalization of deviation starts with the people who are supposed to be enforcing the rules and don't really do a very good job of it either. Air Canada 470, go direct L sub.
Direct L sub for Air Canada 470.
It's frustrating.
Air Canadian 157, 16,000 for 230.
Canadian 157 Toronto, good evening. Climb flight level 270.
All right, up to 270, Canadian 157.
Air Canada 459, contact Toronto arrival now, 132.8. Good night.
32.8, thank you. Good night.
Air Canada 858 Toronto, what approach are you planning for runway 25?
Plan for runway 25, Air Canada 858.
Air Canada 858, which approach are you planning for runway 25?
Planning the RNAV Yankee approach depthly for Air Canada 858.
Air Canada 858, okay, I copied the RNAV Yankee, thank you. Descend 5,000.
Alright, descend 5,000, Air Canada 858.
In Canadian 157, we're planning the same thing, the RNAV Yankee from Boreg.
Canadian 157, I copy your plan, the RNAV Yankee, thank you.
No worries, just thought I'd get it out of the way there.
Air Canada 858, go direct Ulagu.
direct on Air Canada 858.
And Air Canada 858, it kind of broke up. Just confirm direct Ulagu.
Direct Ulagu, Air Canada 858.
Thank you. Air Canada 470, Toronto. The Ottawa information is Mike, runway 25 for arrivals.
Copy information, Mike, and runway 25, and just like the other two, we're going to plan on the RNAV Yankee for runway 25, Air Canada 470.
Air Canada 470, copy the RNAV Yankee request. Thank you. Got a whole slew of arrivals here. Air Canada 470, proceed direct Lanark. When ready, descend 8,000. Ottawa altimeter is 3005.
Direct Lanark, when ready, descend 8,000, Air Canada 470.
Got two more arrivals into Toronto, so I've maybe got an hour here. Do you know if Montreal's going to get on? I honestly have no idea. I don't know of anybody that's going to get on, but no, I wouldn't normally know one way or the other anyways. If I did know, I would tell you for sure, but most of the time I wouldn't know one way or the other. So unfortunately, I do not have an answer for that. Let's see here. You're going to be with Boston anyways. You're going to be with Boston Center anyways in about 10 minutes or so. You could probably almost call him now. But yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about Montreal at this point. I expected the ground view. The ground view's not there. Air Canada 858 Toronto, you're cleared Ottawa Airport, RNAV Yankee, runway 25, Boreg transition.
Alright, we're cleared to the Ottawa Airport, RNAV Yankee approach via Boreg transition, Air Canada.
Canadian 157, proceed direct Lanark.
Alright, direct Lanark, Canadian 157.
Toronto Center, good evening, Air Canada 210 with you, climbing from around 1000.
Air Canada 210 Toronto, good evening, climb flight level 230.
Right, level 230, Air Canada 210.
Air Canada 773 Toronto, are you here? Air Canada 1337 Toronto, are you here? Not yet. I got myself some food, was expecting to just relax. Yeah, you're going to be in Boston's airspace, but you're only going to be in Boston's airspace for 15, 20 minutes maybe. And then you'll have some nice quiet cross the pond time. I imagine Moncton Center's not online. It's quite late on the East Coast at this point. Time is it anyways? Yeah. It's 10 p.m. on the East Coast. Yeah, you're probably not going to get. If you don't have a Moncton controller online now, you're probably not getting one. I would say from here on, you're pretty safe. Go ahead. Okay. All right. Hold on. Got to bring my Toronto ground view back now. Oh, it's all good. I had closed it because I thought I didn't need it. All right, let me pull up my departure list again for Toronto because I don't have any of that either. Oh, look at all those departures. Yeah. All right. Hit me. Oh, okay. I didn't realize there was a new tower online. Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, cool. Well, that's easy then. I don't need the ground view then. Well, I like it. Sounds good. All right, cool. All right, arrival my control. All right, arrival logged off, but now we have a new tower. So, you know, take with one hand and give with the other, I guess. I don't know. Air Canada 210, continue climb, flight level 380.
Come to flight level 380, Air Canada 210.
And Toronto, good evening, Air Canada 773. We're just east of Buffalo coming in. Flight level 290.
Air Canada 773 Toronto, good evening. Squawk code 7324.
7324 for 773.
Toronto, hello, Air Canada 1337, descending at a flight level 300.
Air Canada 1337 Toronto, good evening. Squawk Cadet.
Ident.
Yeah.
Toronto Center, good day. AirMed 690 with information Bravo. Would like to pick up IFR to a Bangor.
Sorry, who's looking for clearance to Bangor?
AirMed 690 on the ground in Billy Bishop.
AirMeds, if you're on the ground in Billy Bishop, you'll want to contact the Toronto Terminal Controller on 119.3.
Okay, we'll contact 119.3 for AirMed 690.
Air Canada 773, the code should be 7324.
Okay. I must have made a mistake when I hit that. 7324, got it.
No problem. Air Canada 1337 Toronto, what's your indicated speed right now? Air Canada 773, thanks. You're identified descending through 261. Descend 1000. The Toronto altimeter is 3010. Speed 290 knots or faster, please.
Okay, 290 or faster, 1000 for Air Canada 773.
And Air Canada 1337, for sequence Toronto, speed 290 knots or less. Descend 1000. Altimeter 3010.
Descend, maintain 1000 and 30. Say altimeter again?
Altimeter is 3010 for Toronto and speed 290 knots or less, Air Canada 1337.
Okay, 3010 and 290 or less, Air Canada 1237.
Air Canada 858, looks like you've gone past the RNAV Yankee transition there, so vectors to final, turn left heading 360, descend 3000.
For Air Canada 858, sorry, you're coming in 2x5.
Air Canada 858, thank you. Stand by 1. I forgot to put up the Air Canada 858. Switch to my other frequency 135.15.
135.15 Air Canada 858.
You got it. All right, sorry. What were you looking for? Oh, Kitchener-Atis, that's right. Air Canada 858, how do you read Toronto now?
Air Canada 858 checking in.
Air Canada 858, thanks. Read you loud and clear. Looks like you missed the transition to final, so turn left heading 320, descend 3000.
Left 320, descend 3000, Air Canada 858.
All right, they wanted a Kitchener ATIS. No, that's not it. It's information. Papa in Kitchener. It is runway 32 with Papa. People always miss that RNAV Yankee transition because they don't close it when they're supposed to.
And Canadian 157, we're approaching our top of descent.
Canadian 157 Toronto, when ready, descend 8000. The Ottawa altimeter 3005.
All right, when ready, descend 8,000, 3005, Canadian 157.
Air Canada 210 Toronto, you leave my airspace to the south. Cleveland Center is not online. Switch to the en route frequency. Surveillance service terminates.
Say again for Air Canada 210.
Air Canada 210, leaving my airspace to the south. Cleveland Center is not online. Switch to the en route frequency. Surveillance service terminates.
Roger that, changing to Unicom, Air Canada 210.
Air Canada 858, continue the left turn heading 280 to intercept the final track. You're cleared the RNAV Yankee runway 25.
Alright, 280 to intercept the final track and cleared for the RNAV approach, Air Canada 858.
Air Canada 1337, start bringing the speed back, speed 250 knots, please.
825, Air Canada 1337.
Air Canada 773, you can resume published speeds on the arrival.
Published speeds for Air Canada 773, thanks.
I see he's up to 7,400. This is not going well. Not going well at all. Go ahead. Air Canada 470, switch to my other frequency, 135.15.
135.15, Air Canada 470.
Air Canada 773, descend 8,000.
8,000, 773.
Looks like you got on the approach again there. Go ahead. Satellite center, go. Okay, hold on. Is that him? Alpha Victor Victor? Okay, yep. He wants to divert to Pearson now. Cessna 172. Okay. Yeah. If you just want to give him a downwind heading for now, and you can hand it to me whenever you're good and ready. Air Canada 858. The Ottawa winds 210 at 3. You're clear to land. Runway 25.
Clear to land, runway 25, Air Canada 858.
Air Canada 470. Just confirm you're on 3515.
Air Canada 470, yep, 135.15.
Air Canada 470. Thank you very much. Go direct to Lagu.
Direct Ulagu for Air Canada 470.
Air Canada 1337. descend 8,000, resume published speeds on the arrival. Air Canada 1337 Toronto, descend 8,000, resume published speeds. Air Canada 773, if I didn't give it to you, it will be the ILS for runway 24 left.
Okay, 24 left for 773.
Center, good evening, Jazz 8776, flight level 310.
Jazz 8776. Let me just find you here. Jazz 8776 Toronto, squawk code. Squawk ident, please.
Squawk ident for 8776.
Jazz 8776, thank you. You're identified. Flight level 310. Toronto information is Echo. Plan runway 24 left.
Information Echo 24 left for Jazz 8776.
Jazz 8776, thanks. When ready, descend flight level 240.
Down to 240 when ready, Jazz 8776.
Toronto Center, Transat 561, good evening with you, passing 2,500 to 5,000 ZK5.
Transat 561 Toronto, good evening. Identified, climb 7,000.
7,000, Transat 561.
Charleston, hello, System 176 Alpha Victor Victor checking in, diverting to Pearson.
Alpha Victor Victor Toronto, good evening. Pearson information is Echo, altimeter 3010. Are you parking at the north or the south end?
I'll pick up Echo 3010 and we're looking for the north end.
Alpha Victor Victor Roger, you can plan runway 23 for arrival. And what heading are you on right now?
I'll defend 080 and maintaining 5,000.
Alpha Victor Victor, perfect. Maintain that heading for now. We'll have it turn onto the downwind here shortly for you.
Alpha Victor Victor, roger.
Transat 561, passing 6,000, turn left, direct saver on course.
Direct saver, Transat 561.
Transat 561, passing 6,000, direct saver.
Correction, passing 6,000, 561.
Air Canada 858, welcome to Ottawa. Turn right on Echo if you've got it, and then taxi Echo to the apron. Have a good night.
Alright, right on Echo, Echo to the apron for Air Canada 858. Thanks, have a good night.
Good night, and if you miss Echo, you can take the intersection, that's fine.
No worries, thanks, Air Canada.
Air Canada 1337 at 1000.
And Air Canada 1337, descend 8,000.
Maintain 8000, Canada 1337.
Air Canada 773, descend 6,000.
6,773.
Transat 561, change of plans, fly heading 150.
Heading 150, Transat 561.
Transat 561, thanks. You can climb flight level 230.
230, Transat 561. Sorry about that.
No problem. Just got to get you over some inbound traffic before I turn you here, so I figured I'd get you climbing first. Air Canada 470, descend 5,000.
Down to 5,000, Air Canada 470.
Canadian 157 for the sequence to Ottawa, reduce speed now 250 knots or less.
So the sequence reduced 250, Canadian 157.
Air Canada 773, descend 4,000.
4,000 for Canada 773.
Air Canada 1337, descend 6,000.
Send 6000 at Canada 1337.
Emirates 242, say the altitude. Emirates 242 Toronto, say passing altitude.
4,800.
Emirates 242 heavy, thanks. Identified, climb 7,000.
7,602.
Toronto Center, Korean 086, Heavy check-in, maintain flight level 300.
Emirates 242, turn left, heading 150.
Left 150,
Transat 561, turn left direct dead key on course.
Direct dead key, your Transat 561.
And Korean 086, Heavy Toronto, good evening.
West, good evening, Korean 086 Heavy.
Center, good evening, Air Canada 713 Heavy, 3,600, climbing 5,000.
Air Canada 713, Heavy Toronto, good evening, climb 7,000.
Climb 7,000, Air Canada 713 Heavy.
Yeah, Emirates 242, Heavy, climb flight level 230.
Center, good day, AirMed 690 is with you 4,000, direct to ATC.
AirMed 690, Toronto, good evening, climb 11,000.
1,000, AirMed 690.
Air Canada 1337, descend 5,000.
5,000, Air Canada 1337.
Air Canada 470, you're cleared the Ottawa Airport, Arnav Yankee, runway 25, Boreg transition.
Clear the Arnav Yankee for runway 23, Borg transition for Air Canada 470.
Canadian 157, speed 230 knots or less, descend 6,000.
230 or less to descend 6,000, Canadian 157.
Air Canada 773, turn left heading 330, descend 3,000.
330 and 3,000 under 773.
Emirates 242, Heavy, turn left direct Verdo on course.
Echo on course 242.
Jazz 8776, descend 1,000, the Toronto altimeter 3010.
1,000 for Jazz 8776.
Transat 561, continue climb, flight level 330.
Continuing to 330, Transat 561.
Air Canada 713, Heavy, climb 15,000, direct Oakville on course.
15,000, direct Oakville on course, Air Canada 713 Heavy, thanks.
Alpha Victor Victor, fly heading 060.
060, Alpha Victor Victor.
Air Canada 1337, descend 4,000.
1,000, Air Canada 1337.
And AirMed 690, climb flight level 450.
450 for AirMed 690.
Air Canada 773, turn left heading 270 to intercept, cleared the ILS 24 left.
Okay, 270 for the joint cleared the ILS 24 left, Air Canada 773.
Air Canada 1337, fly heading 350, descend 3,000.
350 and 3,000, Air Canada 1337.
Air France 355, Toronto, say passing altitude. Air France 355, Toronto, are you here? Emirates 242, Heavy, Toronto, continue climb, flight level 310.
310,
Air Canada 773, speed 160 knots or faster to Kirex, please.
Okay, we're doing 200 and 160 rated till Kirex for 773.
Air Canada 1337, speed 190 or less.
190 or less, Air Canada 1337.
Air Canada 1337, turn left heading 270 to intercept, cleared the ILS, runway 24 left.
270 intercept, clear ILS 24 left, Air Canada 1337.
Air France 355, Heavy, Toronto. Air Canada 773, you can contact the tower now, 118.7. Have a great day.
18.7, good night.
Hello, Toronto Center, Air France 355, 9,000.
Air France 355, Toronto, identified. What was the top altitude on the SID?
10,000.
Air France 355, negative. It's 5,000, and you need to stay on the runway heading until you're turned on course and in contact with the departure controller. You're turning towards my other departures. Fly heading 150, climb flight level 230.
Okay, 150 and climb 250, Air France 355.
Air Canada 713, climb flight level 380.
Flight level 380, Air Canada 713.
Air Canada 1337, you're 5 miles in trail of a company 320. Cross Curex at 160 knots. Contact the tower there, 118.7. Good day.
Okay, so that's 160 knots into Curex. Switch to tower, Canada 1337. Good night.
Good night. Canadian 157, descend 6,000.
6,000, Canadian 157.
Canadian 157, switch to my other frequency now, 135.15.
3515, Canadian.
Could I confirm the heading was 350?
or 157, and that's 135.157?
It's 135.15 for Canadian 157. 135.15.
13550, Canadian 157.
And someone else is looking for a heading?
So departure, could I confirm the heading was 350?
If that was Air France 355, it was heading 150.
Okay, 150, thank you.
Jazz 8776, descend 8,000.
8,000, Jazz 8776.
Alpha Victor Victor, descend 3,000.
Descend 3,000, Alpha Victor Victor.
Air Canada 125, Heavy Toronto, leave my airspace to the west. Winnipeg's not online, switch to the on-route frequency and surveillance service terminates. Air Canada 125, Heavy Toronto.
Air Canada 713, go ahead, please.
Negative, that was for Air Canada 125. Air Canada 125, Heavy Toronto. Nope, guess not. Okay. Canadian 157, Toronto. The spacing's looking pretty good to the traffic ahead now. Descend 5,000. You're cleared the Ottawa Airport RNAV Yankee runway 25, Boreg transition. Canadian 157, Toronto, are you here? Air Canada 470, Toronto. The Ottawa winds showing 210 at 3. Clear to land, runway 25.
Clear to land, runway 25, Air Canada 470.
Air France 355, turn left direct Agnob on course.
Turn back on course, Air France 355.
Air France 355, direct Agnob on course.
Direct Agnob on course, Air France 355.
Air Canada 713, Toronto. You're leaving my airspace to the south. The Cleveland Center's not online. Switch to the on-route frequency. Surveillance service terminates.
Switching en route for Air Canada 713. And just wanted to give you a heads up. I accidentally turned on the acceleration for momentarily for a few seconds.
I appreciate you letting me know. I didn't even notice the difference, but I appreciate that.
Right, thanks, and have a great night.
Good night.
Center, Canadian 157 with you.
Canadian 157, I got you now. 555. Descend 5,000, and you're cleared the RNAV Yankee runway 25 Boreg transition.
All right, 5,000 cleared the RNAV Yankee from Boreg, Canadian 155. Or 157, correction.
Canadian 157, that's all correct. Speed is now your discretion. The traffic ahead is turning about a 5-mile final at this time. Spacing looks good.
All right, speed my discretion, Canadian 157.
Alpha Victor Victor, turn left heading 360 vectors to final.
Left heading 360 vectors to final, Alpha Victor Victor.
Air France 355 Toronto, continue climb, flight level 350.
350, Air France 355.
Jazz 8776 Toronto, you're going to see traffic momentarily just left of your 12 o'clock, about 11 o'clock now. 7 miles just departed, runway 23 will be climbing to 7,000.
Looking for the traffic, Jazz 8776.
Toronto Center, Rouge 1534, departing runway 23, Diedrich 5 departure.
Rouge 1534 Toronto, good evening. Identified, climb 7,000.
Climbing 7,000, Rouge 1534.
Rouge 1534, the traffic at your 12 o'clock, 4 miles is a southeast bound CRJ, leveling at 8,000.
Got the traffic.
Thank you.
1534.
Who this guy? Who this guy? Who this guy? What are you doing? I accepted it. Apparently I didn't.
Good evening, Toronto Center, $46 heavy, coming through flight level 294 for 350.
$46 heavy Toronto, good evening. Squawk ident, please.
Ident, $46.
$46 identified, thank you very much. Climb flight level 350.
Climbing sample level 350, $46, thanks.
Alpha Victor Victor, turn left heading 340.
Left heading 340, Alpha Victor Victor.
Rouge 1534, left turn, direct saver on course.
Direct turn left, on course, Rouge 1534.
Rouge 1534, that's correct, left turn, direct saver on course.
Direct saver 1524.
Jazz 8776, descend 6,000.
6,000, Jazz 8776.
Air Canada 470, welcome to Ottawa. Right turn on Echo if you got it. If you miss it, right turn on the intersection is approved.
We'll turn right on Echo for Air Canada 470.
Air Canada 470, thanks. Taxi Echo, apron your discretion. Have a good night.
10-4, thanks for the ATC. Have a good evening.
Toronto Center, shit, 513 to 22,600 for 5,000.
WestJet 513 Toronto, good evening. Identified, climb 7,000.
7,000 on shit, 513.
Rouge 1534, climb flight level 230.
I'm off 5,000.
All right, there's a couple there. Rouge 1534, climb flight level 230.
Climb level 230, Rouge 1534.
Somebody at 5,000?
Go plane 890, 5,000.
And what was the call sign again?
Go plane.
Go plane. And that's Go plane 890 at 5,000?
Correct.
Go plane 890, thanks, 5,000. Identified. The Peterborough information here is, or sorry, I don't have Peterborough information, but I have the winds 250 magnetic at 4, altimeter 3010.
Okay, request contact approach runway 09, go plane 890.
All right, go flight 890, plan the contact runway 09, descend 4,000.
4,000 if we can get it direct Gabon for go plane 890.
Approved as requested.
Go plane 890.
And try to go plane 605 inbound Peterborough VFR, and we have field sight for runway 0.
All right, go flight 605 VFR. Peterborough winds 250 at 4, altimeter 3010. You can switch to Unicom for the arrival. Have yourself a good night.
Unicom for the arrival for go plane 605.
WestJet 513, turn right, direct AVSIP on course, climb flight level 230.
Direct AVSIP 230, shit, 513.
Jazz 8776, descend 4,000.
4,000, Jazz 8776.
Alpha Victor Victor, turn left heading 270 to intercept, cleared the ILS runway 23.
270 intercept, clear ILS 23, Alpha Victor Victor, thanks.
Turn to Center, good evening, breakout 5818, level 330.
Canadian 157, the Ottawa winds 200 at 3, clear to land 25.
200 at 325, clear to land, Canadian 157.
Brick Air 5818, Toronto, good evening.
Evening.
Go flight 890. The Peterborough Airport's at your your 1 o'clock for about 16 miles. You have it in sight yet?
No, we don't need that for the contact, but we're still looking for the field for Go Plane 890.
All right, Go Plane 890. Yeah, your company traffic's over at your 1 o'clock, pretty much between you and the field. He's about 8 miles ahead, showing 150 knots right now. You might want to start slowing up.
Okay, we'll start slowing up Go Plane 890. Just keep us advised there. Maybe if our TCAS doesn't seem to be working too well today, so just let us know when we're 5 miles behind him.
Alpha Victor Victor, you can contact the tower now, 118.7. Have a good night.
187, thanks, Rob.
Take care. Rouge 1534, climb flight level 370.
Climb flight level 370, Rouge 1534.
Jazz 8776, turn left heading 340, descend 3000.
3000, 340, Jazz 8776.
WestJet 513, continue climb, flight level 340.
340, WestJet 513.
Center's trying to go for forward mode, sir.
Sorry, who's calling center?
Try to go for forward mode, sir. Caravan on going to Kitchener Airport. We're looking back CV for departure to Hamilton.
Papa X-ray, if you're on the ground at Kitchener, you can contact the Toronto terminal on 119.3. He handles Kitchener.
19-3, thank you.
Thank you.
Toronto Skycraft, Go Plane 890. We'll just go ahead and cancel the IFR now and terminate the alerting.
Okay, Go Plane 890. I copy that. Your IFR flight plan's closed. Alerting service is terminated at 0139 Zulu. Your company traffic still just basically between you and the field. You're about 5.3 in trails, what I'm seeing right now.
All right, I got him in sight there. Thanks. We'll change over to the MF or Go Plane 890.
Roger, thank you.
Hello, Egypt Air 996 with you, passing 4700 feet.
Egypt Air 996, Toronto, good evening. Identified, climb flight level 230.
Flight level 230, Egypt Air 996.
Jazz 8776, turn left heading 270 to intercept, cleared the ILS 24 left.
270 for the ILS 24 left, Jazz 8776.
Canadian 157, welcome to Ottawa. Right turn Echo if you got it. If you miss it, right turn on the intersection's approved.
All right, right turn Echo, and we'll taxi on Echo, Canadian 157.
Canadian 157, I see you got Echo. Taxi Echo, apron your discretion. Have a good night.
Echo, apron my discretion, Canadian 157. Good night.
Egypt Air 996 Heavy, turn left, direct Saver on course.
Direct Saver on course, Egypt Air 996.
I've been there. It's a sign you might need a break. And Medair 690 Toronto, contact the Boston Center now, 134.7. Good night. Medair 690 Toronto. Jazz 8776, traffic information for you. There is a 172 on the approach for runway 23, about 4 miles ahead. You can switch to the tower now, 118.7. Have a good night.
Okay, we've got the traffic and over the tower, 118.7 for Jazz 8776. Good night, sir. Thank you.
Good night. And Medair 690, you can contact Boston Center now, 134.7.
1347, have a good night.
Good night. Egypt Air 996, continue climb, flight level 330.
Continue climb, flight level 330, Egypt Air 996.
Toronto Center, Air France 355. Can I go for about 10 minutes?
Air France 355, within that time you're going to leave my airspace. I have nothing further for you. You can switch to en route frequency now. Surveillance service terminates. Have a good day.
Okay, I can go to Unicom, Air France 355.
How do you know what altitude to descend people and what headings to give them? That is an excellent question, and the answer is that it's as much an art form as it is a technical skill, and that is probably one of the more interesting things about ATC in general. What did I do here? There we go. Oh, I must have clicked on somebody departing here. Ah, son of a bugger, who's departing? That is. Ah. Anywho, yeah, it's as much a skill as it is a technical thing. It's much like flying. Like there's a lot of technical knowledge to flying. You have to know your airplane and understand it and everything, but you also have to know. But it's also there's an art form to fly. There's a skill and a little bit of a joy of making those choices of how am I going to get from point A to point B. I have to do it within these rules, within these constraints. But sometimes there's there's allowances. There's latitude. So how do you fly it? Do you fly it fast? Do you fly it slow? When do you put the gear down? When do you put the flaps down? Like that sort of thing. Like there's some art form for that. So it's very much the same thing with ATC. It's not a set in stone. Now there are certain altitude limits and things like that, and a lot of the altitudes I'm giving people are constraints that are caused by different things. Transat 561, you leave my airspace to the east. The Montreal Center is not online. Switch to the on-route frequency. Surveillance service terminates.
Onto Unicom, thank you very much for ATC Transat 561. Bye bye.
Take care. Yeah, so, but a lot of the altitudes there's different reasons why different altitudes, but a lot of times the altitudes are basically because that's the limit of the airspace that this person is flying through. So, in this case, of course, I'm controlling all the airspace within Toronto, but normally this is an area that would be covered. This is, I'm performing the roles that would normally be covered by a dozen different people or more. Even within terminal unit, there's 2 or 3 people on shift, and there's probably a dozen people working the center. There is generally a high-low split almost everywhere. It's most of the time into the Toronto region, it's 23 and 24, so the low sector ends at 23, and then the high sector starts at 24 and above. So that's kind of the first thing that we often do is we clear people to the top of our airspace, 23, or the descent, we clear them down to 24, and then we hand them to the next controller. So I'm kind of simulating that by having that sort of pause in there.
Toronto Center, breakout 5818.
Breakout 5818, Toronto, go ahead.
Any chance we could get slightly higher cruising altitude? We're kind of getting rocked about a flight level 330.
Brickyard 5818, yeah, anything you want's available. How high would you like to go?
We could do flight level 370 if possible for Brickyard 5818.
Brickyard 5818, climb flight level 370.
Flight level 370, thank you, Brickyard 5818.
Of course, at the very, very bottom end, there is the minimum vectoring altitude, which is the lowest altitude you can vector an airplane around without them being at risk of hitting terrain. Because you can see them on radar, you may see where they are relative to terrain. It's not much in Toronto. The one thing you have to worry about is the CN Tower. So this red circle right here is the CN Tower below, around that.
United 3416 with you, passing 1,100.
United 3416, Toronto, good evening. Identified, climb 7,000.
Climb 7,000, United 3416.
Around that, you have to be at least 3,100 feet. You can't be at 3,000 feet. And actually, now that I think about it, I think I had Alpha Victor Victor going through there at 3,000 feet. So that was my error. But yes, you're supposed to be 3,100 feet within 3 miles of the CN Tower. Pretty much everywhere else in Toronto, you could be 3,000 feet. Over Lake Ontario, you could be down at 2,000 feet. United 3416, turn left direct Dewsum, climb 15,000.
Turn direct to Murnau. Can you repeat the altitude for 3416?
United 3416, it's direct Dewsum and climb 15,000.
Direct Dewsum and climb to 155 for United 3416.
Yeah, so there's obviously the very lowest. Most of Toronto, it's pretty easy. It's 3,000. You go to Vancouver, and it becomes very complicated. There's numbers all over the screen showing you what the different altitudes are in the different areas based on, of course, the mountainous terrain around Vancouver. That's a pretty extreme example, but yeah, terrain is not something you even think about in Toronto. 3,000 feet everywhere works. It's just always 3,000 everywhere in Toronto, pretty much. But you go to Vancouver, and you suddenly it's the number one thing you're always thinking about. You have to think about it constantly because it's important. Yeah. Other than that, yeah, like in the arrival space, there's certain places where arrivals and departures will cross. So we have altitude restrictions to keep the different airplanes separated. If I don't see them crossing, then I can probably
Toronto Center, your
not use
United
them.
6633 with you, 1,400 feet.
United 6633 Toronto, good evening. Identified, climb 15,000, maintain runway heading for now.
Climb 15,000, we'll maintain runway heading, United 6633.
United 6633, thanks. That's going to be a short vector for another minute or two just for in-trail separation.
Sounds good, United 6633.
Toronto, good day. It's Go Plane 608 out of Peterborough. 1,800, calling 5,500, VFR, city side.
Go plane 608 Toronto, squawk code 1251, Peterborough altimeter 3010.
Okay, 1251 should be coming up now. Next refresh for Go Plane 608.
Hey. No, it's all good. That was fun. Actually, I realized that I probably had you too low. I probably had you 3,000 past the CN Tower. Go flight 608 Toronto, thanks. Identified. Are you just looking for VFR flight following to City?
Hey, for me, we'll be looking for the flight policy, sorry, for Go Plane 608.
Go flight 608, roger. Altitude is at your discretion. You are identified, and you do have a target off your left side indicating 2,900 unverified.
Okay, roger, that's the company. We'll talk to them for Go Plane 608.
United 6633, direct DUSM on course.
Direct to DUSM, United 6633.
United 3416, climb flight level 230.
Climb flight level 230, United 3416.
Lots of airplanes doing lots of different things, but nothing's too bad here.
Toronto Center, good day. It's Go Plane 809.
Go Plane 809, Toronto, good evening.
Hello, off of Peterborough 0147 through 5,000 now, IFR clearance City Center.
All right, go flight 809. I don't see you here. Hold on, let me just double check my list.
Sorry, that's 609, my apologies.
That's why I didn't see it. Okay, yeah, that's right. I have Go Plane 609. All right, squawk code 0512, Peterborough altimeter 3010.
0512 for Go Plane 609.
Go Plane 609, you are identified, and you're cleared to City Center via present position direct, maintain 8,000.
Cleared City Center Airport, present position direct, climb 8,000, Go Plane 609.
Go Plane 609, you may be aware there's a company Dash 8 off your right side, about 2 miles, 5,500 VFR.
Well, I checked the company Dash 8, and we're talking about non-company frequency.
Roger. United 6633, climb flight level 230.
Climb flight level 230, United 6633.
United 3416, climb flight level 370.
Flight level 370, United 3416.
All right, I think things are starting to simmer down a little bit here, which is good because I'm planning to bail in 10 minutes. I've done my fill. I've played my role. Handled a lot of traffic. It's been Toronto's been packing them in lately. There was a while kind of in the spring, late spring, where Toronto was kind of becoming a little bit of a snooze fest, and lately now it packs them in like nobody's business. Just so you know, center's closing in 10 minutes. Well, there you go. Yeah, go ahead. Where is he right now? Yeah, if I'm still on when he, yeah, if I'm still on when he departs, yeah, you can give him to me. I'll turn him on course at least. It's not a hard 10 minutes, but it's approximately 10 minutes. It's a VATSIM 10 minutes. Cool. Go flight 609. The city information is Charlie advertising runway 08.
Hey, Charlie, we'll grab that go plane 609.
Go plane 609. Looks like you're just starting to overtake the traffic off your right side. Descend 6,000.
6,000, go plane 609.
United 6633. Continue climb, flight level 350.
Continue up to 350, United 6633.
Go ahead. Aren't we all? Yeah. Go Flight knows about the 609 knows about the -8 off his right side. That's VFR as well, so they should be good. Go Flight 609. Contact terminal now 119.3. Good night.
19.3, go plane 609.
Go Flight 608. Same for you. For further flight following, contact the terminal now 1193.
Go to terminal now 19.3. Go flight 608. Good day.
Good day. United 3416, leave my airspace to the south. Cleveland Center's not online. Switch to the honor frequency. Surveillance service terminates. Good night.
Head for ATC, United 3416.
Take care. Go ahead. Don't bother telling them that I'm here. If they know, they know, and if not, if they're not taxiing now, it's probably not even worth talking to them very much. But yeah. All right, sounds good. Have a good night. Attention all aircraft on frequency. Toronto Center will be closed in 5 minutes.
Let's switch to Unicom now then for Westjet 513.
You stay for 5 more minutes, but unless you need to go.
Okay, sounds good. Westjet 513.
However, United 6633, you are leaving my airspace to the south, so you can switch to the honor frequency. Surveillance service terminates, and have a good night.
Over to Unicom. Thanks for all the service. Have a great one, United 6633.
Take care. Yeah, Rouge 1534, you're just about to leave my airspace to the east. You can switch to the honor frequency now. Surveillance service terminates. Have yourself a good night.
Thanks for the service. Switching over. Here's 1534.
Toronto Center, United 220, Santa Barbara runway 3, passing 4,600.
United 220 Toronto, good evening. Your identified climb, flight level 230.
Climb, flight level 230, United 220.
United 220, thanks. Proceed direct Saver on course.
Proceed direct Saver on course.
Just getting ready to wrap it up, and I see this one guy coming in here. I think he's a Brickyard. He's a Brickyard. Always going to Ottawa too. Always on. He wouldn't even expect to have ATC for the arrival anyway. So I'm not even going to bother pinging him. When I'm only 2 minutes away from logging off, I don't bother pinging people anymore. Not unless he's going to. If he caused a conflict, if he was going to cause a conflict, then I would do something. And that is always my overriding principle in this simulation. Certainly for whether I. Whether I ever report people to supervisors, my number one stipulation is, are they causing a problem to other network users? Because if they are, then I'm going to be swift at getting a supervisor on them. If they're not, I tend to take a much more live and let live approach to a certain degree. But that being said, like I can't abide by the nonstop again, and the normalization of deviation with the code of conduct violations. You can't be away from a VATSIM connection for more than 30 minutes, and that is really designed to be an outlier, a limit, with the idea that you shouldn't even be approaching that limit. Like that limit is set in stone, but like you shouldn't even be approaching it. The whole idea is like, hey, you can go grab a meal, grab a drink.
Toronto Center, good evening. Speedbird 259, heavy at 290, speed 0.857. Mach 4 Toronto Pearson.
Speedbird 259 Heavy Toronto. I think I see you on the radar there. We're going to be closing in a minute or so, so you can remain on the Unicom. Just for your information, the information in Toronto was Echo and arrivals on runway 24 left.
Arrival, runway 24 left. Information Echo 259 Heavy. Thank you.
No problem. Have yourself a good night. Hopefully we'll catch you next time.
Thanks very much.
Toronto Center, Delta 46.
Sorry, who was that calling?
It was $1.46.
$1.46 Toronto. Yeah, I'm about to ship everyone off here, so you can switch to the auto frequency surveillance service terminates. Have yourself a good night.
All right, thanks. We'll see you $1.46.
Korean 086 Heavy Toronto. Going to be closing now. Switch to the auto frequency surveillance service terminates. Have a good night. WestJet 513, no further ATC available in your direction anymore, so you can switch to onward frequency. Surveillance service terminates. Have a good night.
Over to you, Rob. Have a good night.
Good night. And Egypt Air 996 Heavy, same for you. Switch to the onward frequency. Surveillance service terminates. Have yourself a good night.
Server ATC service terminated. Monitoring Unicom Egypt Air 996. Thank you very much for ATC service. Have a great day.
Take care. United 220 Toronto. Going to be closed now. You can switch on our frequency. Surveillance service terminates. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Thank you so much. I'm going to be disconnected and got some going on, but thank you for your service.
Take care. And Brickyard 5818 Toronto.
Toronto, Brickyard 5818.
Brickyard 5818. You're leaving my airspace to the southeast. Cleveland's not online. Boston is. Trying to get you a handoff, but I think you're just outside of his radar range still. So just maybe give it about 5 minutes and give him a shout on 34-7. I'm trying, but it's just coming up as still just outside his range.
Oh, good. I'll just switch to that frequency and give it a listen in for a bit and contact you if thanks for the ATC tonight also. Good one, Brickyard 5818.
Brickyard 5818. Yeah. Usually, let's see, your next fix is up. Usually at that point or thereafter, usually you're on his radar. So I'm just trying to hand you off a little early, but yeah, any time in the next 5 minutes or so, you'll probably be able to get. He'll probably be able to get you on radar, anyways.
Great, thank you so much. Have a good night, Brickyard 5818.
Good night. If I've missed anybody, Toronto Centre is now closed. Switch to the honorary frequency. The surveillance service terminates, and have a good night, everyone. All right, that's it. I'm out. That was a good session. When I finally got it working, when I finally brought up my VPN and used that to connect to the network, because that was the only way to get past whatever was blocking me on this Wi-Fi network. There must be some kind of firewall, and darn, that was annoying. And I kind of threw in the towel a little early, and then I just had a brainstorm about putting up a VPN, and that seemed to work. That seemed to bypass it didn't know what was going on. It didn't know what I was connected to, so it just let the data through, which is. Anyways, it worked. It's great. I was happy because otherwise I had nothing else to do for this couple of hours. And I was kind of looking, I'm like, well, now I'm going to be bored. What am I going to do? Watch a movie, I guess? I guess I could watch a movie, but I'd much rather spend some time with you guys. So anyways, have a great night. We'll see you guys all out there on the VATSIM skies, hopefully sometime in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, stay tuned to the Discord for the next couple of streams. It'll hopefully be, probably not this week, but hopefully the week after. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.